Floating in crypto tax confusion?
Guys, there we go, and welcome to the virtual flight deck, everyone. Captain Jack here, and with me on the screen are my brothers in crime, my brothers in arms, my brothers in wings, so on and so forth, something like that. Mickey D. Mike is here. Major Mark is here. My good friend Jay Davis is here, guys. How you doing? How's it going?
Doing all right.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, well, welcome in. I tell you, I think we've got some fun stuff to talk about tonight. It's kind of the second edition of the year for the virtual flight deck here. I want to welcome everybody in chat. We've got some guys lining up already. Graham from Scotland is here on the Captain Jack side. FO Pilot Depth is aboard. Let's see, it's Dominic. Dom is here, and Jacob Jamerson. Mike, who you got in your chat? Mike, you're simulcasting tonight over there on the Mickey D. Mike channel. Who you got aboard? Yeah. Yeah, you're not
Sorry,
here.
OBS was muted. I apologize, guys. I'm here. Thank you. So anyway, you'll be able to hear me on the on the podcast side because it's in Discord over on Jack's channel. But apologize, guys. Yes, I got it. I get it. I'm muted. I got it. Jesus, chat was going ballistic. But we appreciate you guys tuning in with me today. I forgot to unmute me in OBS. Yeah, I think we're just going to be talking about everything that's released for the flight sim as of recent, and talk about the hype over the beautiful Inibuilds A350. I don't know about you guys, but I personally am in love with that airplane. Talk about my new love for the Embraer 175. That's an aircraft I have fallen in love with. But yeah, guys, do appreciate you guys tuning in. Welcome back to the virtual flight deck. Owl should be joining us here soon. I know he's doing a flight right now. He said he'll probably join up once he's finished here. But yeah, guys, we're here. Welcome. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. We'll let Jack get to it, and we'll go from there. Like I said, I'm simulcasting, but primary chat's probably going to be over on Jack's side tonight. So if you have any questions or anything like that, you can ask them on my side or on Jack's side. But primarily, it's going to be over at Jack's tonight. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'll kind of moderate that here so you guys can field the questions. Of course, EJ Davis on board, and welcome aboard, man. How are you? It's good to see you.
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. By the way, there, I don't know if it's on my end, Jack, but you're a little bit quiet there. But I'm having a fantastic time. We're having a lot of fun stuff happening in VATSIM, and I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about what we've got going on, and certainly excited for the Cross the Land tomorrow. So definitely some awesome stuff to talk about there. Got to do a flight with you earlier this week. We had a lot of fun. Matter of fact, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about too was going to some different destinations and trying some places that you haven't in the past. I was really glad to see you do that, Jack, and I'm excited to talk about some new places that you and I can fly next time you're streaming and in the sky.
I look forward to that because it was so much fun flying that evening with you around the Caribbean there. Let's see, we did we went to Aruba. Oh, we started out in Kingston. That's right. So I had not been there before. I've got a lot of countries to add to the list of countries that I visited there, and been doing some different stuff. And my streams in the evening tend to be just a little bit shorter, so I don't necessarily do some of those long hauls and different foreign destinations like you guys do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing some more on what you got there.
Jack, I apologize, but you're still pretty quiet for me on my end as well.
Am I? Okay, well, let's see. I'm pumping, I think, about as much as I can that way. I've got Discord turned all the way up. Let me see. Let me go one more here. Okay. Yeah, I've got that turned up as far as I can, man. I'm not sure why. Let's see. Let me try one more thing. All right.
I'm not sure. It was perfect when the stream started.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see here. I had to balance things out a little bit on that end. Let me know if it gets any better, and I'll try to speak up. I can't speak up. I can get real loud.
Oh, Jack can get loud.
Oh yeah. Major Mark, how you doing, man? Welcome.
I'm doing all right. Not too bad. Life is good. Enjoying the new products coming out. See chase plane is coming out. I guess we could talk about that a little bit too. But other than that,
yeah.
doing good.
By the way, my good friend Charlie31 at Gate C31 here on YouTube wanted to say hello to everybody, and he's in the chat. He's also streaming right now. Charlie does virtual reality. He does everything from behind the lens of the virtual reality headsets. So you guys might check that out there when you get. Yeah, I'm seeing that awfully quiet in here. I'm not sure what's going on. My audio was good to start with, so I'll let you guys talk, and I'll worry about that as we go along here. Mike, why don't you start us off and kind of poll around between EJ and Mark. We'll see if Al shows up here in a few minutes. But, yeah, the Inibuilds A350, that kind of is the queen of the skies right now. Tell us what you think.
Well, obviously, I think that was the probably most anticipated released aircraft for the sim to date, in my personal opinion. I think it overshot the hype of the 777 from PMDG initially, but the hype did die down very quickly, and I think that just because people got tired of flying long flights, right? So, yeah, obviously the Inibuilds A350 released in all its glory. The release, I would say, was pretty smooth, at least on a download install side, I would say. But obviously, Inibuilds did have some issues when it came to the stability of the aircraft within the sim with WASM crashes, so on and so forth, because I actually experienced a few of those. But obviously, new aircraft with new systems, so on and so forth. There are bound to be some issues when stuff like that happens. But, I would say I've done a lot of flying in that bird, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, man. It's a beautiful airplane to fly. It hand flies amazingly. It's a bit of a different feeling from your 7.3s and your A320s. You definitely feel like you're flying a heavy airplane. The flap sounds, I think, are my favorite thing about that airplane right now. I think the flap sounds are probably my favorite feature of that aircraft. I gotta say, the sound pack of that airplane is incredible, and Inibuilds did a fantastic job. But yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, you get two variants of the aircraft, soon to be three, with the ultra long range version of the 900 variant coming out here shortly, for $75 US. I think Inibuilds knocked it out of the park. Obviously, this is probably going to be their biggest release to date. And I was speaking with a representative from Inibuilds, and they anticipated a large release, and they were telling me that they had upgraded their servers to handle over 3,000 downloads a minute. That was over 100, 3,000 downloads a minute. A minute. So you think about it, within an hour. No, I'm sorry, 3,000 downloads per second. So in a minute, over 180,000 downloads. They were able to handle. So they did a fantastic job. I think the release was very smooth. It was nothing like when I purchased the 777 and had to wait 32 hours to get my serial key to install the airplane into my sim because of how many people were trying to buy the aircraft at the same point. We did some awesome flights in that plane, man. My first flight obviously had to be with Cathay Pacific, because that is one of my favorite airline liveries to date. We flew from Singapore to Hong Kong without issue, and it flew everything beautifully. So I'm in love with the airplane. Obviously, I don't do long hauls on a regular basis, and I don't leave my computer on overnight to do those long hauls. So it's an aircraft that I've since put back in the hangar, and I've been jumping into the regional flights as of recent. But Mark, EJ, I know you guys have been flying that bird nonstop, so I'd like to get your guys' take on it.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic plane. I think one of the things that has made it such a huge popular thing, even over the 777, is we had a 777 and prepared. We had a 777 that we got to use in 2020. We really didn't have a quality A350. Now, if you came from the X-Plane side, I believe they have a pretty good one, my understanding is, but you never had one on the Microsoft prepared side. So this is like a brand new bird. It's really like Christmas Day, something you've never gotten before. And I think that really carried the drive for having this big plane that's really successful. Having done a lot of long hauls in real life, I've seen how it shifted from going from 767s to 787s, and now like the A350 is really taken over on a lot of these long haul carriers. Qatar Airways and Finnair come to mind as two of them that have kind of shifted their whole model in real life based off of these planes. So a lot of people who are now up and about and flying, they've been flying on this bird for a while and they've been dying to get into it. So I think that's really drove the excitement for it. But Mark, I'd love to hear, your experiences so far as it's progressed in versions too. Honestly, I didn't notice huge changes except for the maps finally starting to work. But maybe you guys noticed the more things in those change logs.
Well, to be fair, Mark is now an official sim rated Delta 350 captain. So,
Oh wow!
well, you did your check ride in it last night, didn't you? If I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken,
did.
right?
Yeah, I did a check ride in the last night, so
Nice.
waiting on the results for that. It went pretty fine. Landed. I think actually the check ride was the best land I had. Negative 116 in the plane
Mm.
so
Wow.
far. So I
Nice.
felt pretty good about it. So hopefully they give me my keys and my certificate so I can go do some long hauls with it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Jack, I don't know if you've flown the 350 yet, or if you've dived into the system depth of an aircraft at that type of caliber, but it is incredible what is within the sim now, to be able to fly something of such new technology. Because obviously the 350 is probably going to turn into one of the most popular passenger jets in the skies. Obviously, with the issues that the 787 has been having recently, I know a lot of carriers have been wanting to retire their 787 fleets because of how expensive they are to repair in case something goes wrong. I was just reading an article on that the other day. Oh, your audio is fantastic now, Jack.
Okay, yeah, I did some adjusting.
There we go.
But when it came down to, obviously, I think there was a little bit of drama when the 350 released. I think we all are aware of the. I don't want to necessarily say it was drama because I think Phoenix, the head of Phoenix, was just stating his opinions and his frustrations with people asking him questions and telling him that he should never do another Airbus ever again. I think his response was validated with why he responded the way he did. But there was some drama when the 350 released, but I don't think it was anything that would cause any strenuous, or murky water in the flight sim community, I should say. Other than that, I mean, I flew the 350 so much that I was actually getting tired of flying a wider bodied aircraft because I was flying it so damn much. And I do agree with EJ. We haven't seen a proper 350 within the sim, even, and arguably, in my opinion, the one in X-Plane is nowhere near to the caliber that it needs to be. Because it was originally done by Flight Factor, and the aircraft was, in my opinion, when Flight Factor originally released it, was a piece of garbage. So Tolis then had to get their hands on it to fix some stuff to make the aircraft at least semi-flyable. And obviously, you're going to have your X-Plane guys out there that'll swear up and down that that's their plane and it's better than the Inibuilds, so on and so forth, whatever. I personally flew it, and Inibuilds hands down and did a better job with this airplane. And I think it's just due to the newer technology of Microsoft, right? With Microsoft Flight Simulator being able to, especially in 2024. I mean, you look at that airplane in 2024 versus 2020, it's a night and day difference. So, I see why the hype died so quick because, again, I don't jump on my sim and want to do 8, 10, 15-hour flights. The amount of times that I've been asked to fly Singapore JFK is ridiculous. I'm like, no, I'm not spending 19 hours in the air, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. I'm sorry. But if you haven't, Jack, I would highly recommend checking it out because, if you're comfortable with the Phoenix 320, there's a little bit of a learning curve to learning the differences in the advanced technology systems that the 350 uses, but it's definitely an airplane I would recommend right now.
Mike, I wish that I had some slides to throw up of the interior of the aircraft. Tell me a little bit about it. How does it compare to the 320? What are the advances? What are the nuances that make this plane so exciting in comparison to the Phoenix or the PMDG?
Well, the 350, from what I understand, runs off of the same systems that the A380 does when it comes to the style of the cockpit, and it's basically just moved from your MCDU, one of these that you would see in an A320, right? Just a typical MCDU you would see in a 320 family aircraft, or a 330 if you would, is now a computer. You manipulate it using a mouse and a mouse to and a keyboard to input all your stuff. There's no buttons. It's a big LCD screen that sits on the center console, and there's just LCD screens across the entire cockpit. So there's a lot of advancements when it comes to getting rid of the button touching and just being able to do it with the tip of your finger on a track wheel or on a mouse track to just go from screen to screen and input all your stuff there. And there obviously you look at the 320 cockpit and you put it next to the 350 cockpit, it's a night and day difference between the two. But then if you actually dive into the systems of the 350, they're very, very similar. It's a newer way of, instead of hitting, your init button on your MCDU, you just have to go up to the drop down menu at the top of the MCDU within the 350, find your init page, and you're good,
That actually brings me. You picked up the MICDU back there too. Is that integratable with this new aircraft? Does it work with it? Do those is the
no.
software crossover?
The WinWing MCDU, obviously, WinWing sent me over the MCDU and the P3N, which I actually have mounted to my desk right now. Mark has his as well. WinWing, I partnered with them. They sent me over the products to check out. But that does not work in the 350, and I don't intend it to work with the 350. And I think, if I'm a betting man, I think WinWing is debating on whether or not they are going to dive into creating peripherals of that type of caliber for what you see in the 350. A full LCD screen with a trackpad and stuff like that.
Do those pop out, Mike? Can you take them off onto another screen? Like, for instance, the lower display screen for the PMDG 777. I'll bring it out, put it on my other screen here, and it still allows you to click on the checklists and everything as well. Does that airplane have that capability?
I believe so. I think that's a Microsoft compatibility thing. So all planes within Microsoft, you should be able to enlarge the avionics systems into a separate tab and drag into a new screen, because that's what we had to do for World Flight with the 777.
Right.
So, and I think the 350 is able to do it. I have not tested it, but I would assume it does. But when it comes to how the 350 cockpit is actually designed, it's more interactive, if you would, versus having all your older typical displays that you would see over the last 35 plus years. It's a much more interactive and much more clean looking, advanced. It's modern, if you would. So
yeah, very cool. Now, let me ask you, Mark, we've heard a little bit about from Mike on this, and Mike, you're whetting my appetite for it. Let me let me ask you this real quick.
Got to get Jack in it.
Yeah. Well, I've watched you fly it, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's pretty cool. What's the price point on it right now?
The price point of the 350. I'm sorry, were you asking me or Mark? I apologize.
You at this.
The price point of the 350 is priced at just over $75 US. I think it's like 75.86 and something like. If you're talking in the US dollar currency, I believe it's on their website for 59 or 69.99 Great British pounds. I believe it is.
Correct.
Yeah,
But when you check out within I think a majority of people that are watching us right now are US based, or Canada at least. And even Canadian dollar. I think the Canadian dollar, I think it's a little over 100 Canadian. But in the US dollar, it's just under 76 US dollars.
Okay. Well, that's pretty reasonable compared to some of the other prices. EJ, what's or Mark? I'm sorry, I was going to go to you next. What's your take on all this?
I think overall it's a good product. I've flown it on both 2020 and 2024. Obviously, 24 has a little more feature rich since it was designed and developed for Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. But the plane flies, to me, it flies a tad bit better than 24, obviously because it has the updated avionics and running on the latest assembled platform. So that one is a little better, but they both fly great. There are some disadvantages that Inibuilds is working on, like Mike stated, but I think it's a fantastic product, especially for $75 US, give or take. You get it on two different platforms, both two different airplanes, soon to be three, on two different platforms. So I think it's the juice is worth the squeeze on that one.
Yeah, that's pretty nice stuff. EJ, how about you?
I think it's been one of the best planes that has ever come out, and I feel it has done a very, very good job of justifying its price, and it's at a price point where um, it's not the cheapest aircraft around, but it's not so ridiculously expensive that you're breaking the bank and possibly only able to get that one aircraft that year. And for what you're spending, you've got something that is uh, if you're devoted enough time to watching the tutorials, you're able to jump in rather quickly. And if you're somebody who is really into the systems, from my understanding, because I'm not that person, but somebody who is a actual pilot of an A350, I've seen them go on YouTube and break down some of the functions and talk about some of the differences, but impressively about how some of that technology or the majority of that technology is very well mapped to what happens in the real world. So that's really exciting to see for something that is an affordable uh, semi-study level aircraft. And I have to give my hands off to the Inibuilds team on doing that. I have not gotten tired of it yet, but I also was not flying it nonstop, and so I've been taking breaks. Yesterday, I just did a flight from somewhere in Europe to Qatar, and I will continue to do those throughout the course of the next few months because there's so many routes that I've been just dying to do, and airlines that I really really like, having that aircraft a lot. So I think as we continue to see the steady updates from Inibuilds on this aircraft, it's going to continue to be one that we revisit in the months to come as they continue to improve that project. And until that time, it's right now my favorite aircraft that has been released. When we look at everything that PMDG has done, everything that we've seen from Quality Wings and whoever else, currently I would put that Inibuilds A350 at my favorite that has ever been released.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. That's quite an endorsement. That's quite an endorsement. Well, I'll tell you, I'm saving money. I'm saving money right now actively for a couple of things. I'm really, and Mike, I was going to ask you what you think about this, but I'm really waiting for that Wind Wings MCP to come out for Boeing.
Yeah.
Really, really want that. Now, here's the thing. I have my flight sim set up here with the Wind Wing FCU and the EFIS, and with the mobile flight software, I can get that to work pretty much on just about any of the major commercial aircraft that's out right now.
Yeah.
They'll even it even works for the ATR and now the CRJ, and of course your Sim CFI. You got to get the CRJ. You got to get the CRJ. So I've got that airplane. I want this one now, and I want the MCP when it comes out. And I was going to tell everybody this too. If you're not aware of, I don't really have it turned on right now, but the Phoenix product and the Sobo A320, it sends out the MICDO to come up on your iPad, and if you have a larger iPad like this one, it really really works well. The PMDG stuff through a software called Simbox. Maybe you guys have seen that. Simbox is an app that'll come up on the iPad, and it talks over your Wi-Fi network to your computer. It works extremely well. It looks good. You guys might want to check that out sometime. But I'm kind of saving my money in those lines, but now I've got to find some more money.
Yeah. Well,
we've
had a very generous community when it comes to the 350. I think one stream Owls gave away 5 copies or 6 copies of the airplane based off of donations that he received. I think Major Mark was no comment, right? I was fortunate enough to have a subscriber or a member of mine donate enough to let me give away 2 copies of the airplane. So you never know, you might have someone just give you a little bit of a gift there, right? So,
Yeah, well, your Sim CFI, by the way, just showed up in the chat. Hey, hope all is well. I heard my plane. Al said, "Thank you, sir." That's pretty good. And CST, you just popped back in. You've been in a couple of times. Are you there? Hello.
I mean, I'm just trying to get the camera to work, which is not.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to work on that a minute, but we're talking about the Inibuilds 350, and certainly want to get your opinion on that. Okay, we'll let him see if he can get his camera going there. So, favorite airplane of all time, huh, EJ? That's pretty extraordinary, I think, because right now, honestly, I love the 737 Max for my flight. I think that's probably my favorite airplane at the
it's
moment.
a great product.
Yeah, it really is. How long would you say, EJ, the learning curve for really being able to get proficient with the 350 is? There's CST.
You know what? I think that's a fun question. And to comment on the iFly, I will say that there is nothing that can top the original beginner of all of this. When PMDG first introduced their planes back in FS 2004 days, like that was so world breaking that moment will never be topped again.
Yeah.
And iFly and PMDG, what they continue to bring to the table each and every day, those daily planes, the most popular planes in all of aviation, fantastic planes. I do love them. I just like the 350 more. But I would say that the 350 would have had a larger time for all of us to learn it had it not been for fly-by-wire, because they released that 380 and it gave you an understanding of how the systems worked. So it took me a few minutes to actually go from the 350 cockpit to getting it set up, and my first flight, which I did offline, I'd say it took me less than 40 minutes to get to a ready position, and then everything after that, while I was in the sky, I was watching some tutorials, went very, very fine. Had it not been for fly-by-wire, I would have said that maybe a full flight, I would have been very uncomfortable with the plane, and it would have taken some time to really get used to it. But thanks to fly-by-wire releasing that 380 first, it was a pretty quick learning curve for me. And I think anybody else who used that aircraft was also able to jump into 350 pretty quickly.
Well, I do have the 380. I did download that from Fly-by-Wire, so maybe I'll have to take a look at that and practice in it and kind of get warmed up in it a little bit. Although, once again, that airplane looks slightly intimidating to me too. I'm an old guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I got to watch videos, and I got to write checklists, and I got to do all this other kind of stuff.
I gotta say, Jack, I find it, not in a rude way, right? But I do find it comical when you say that the 350 and 380 look intimidating to you, but then I watch you fly the DC-3 and I'm like, how is he doing this?
Yeah.
You learn the checklist. The DC-3 is almost like flying a Cessna. You need to remember your inches and your manifold for all the various phases, but that's not a big deal. But it's fun. Thank you.
And I gotta say, Jack, the systems are relatively simple. They're just very intuitive. One system ties into the next, and then that one ties into the next. It's very simple, especially when it comes to the onboard information system with your EFB. You don't have a tablet, cupped to the window anymore or attached to the aircraft cockpit. It's literally a screen within peripheral view that you can go and look at your charts, your flight map, any situations that you need to clear within the aircraft itself. And then from there, you just take the 320 cockpit and take all those systems and throw them onto a major LCD screen, and that's basically what you've got. There are some relatively different systems that a 320 or a 7.3 wouldn't have, like the brake to vacate system, which is an incredible system. I think it's an awesome system that's been developed by Airbus. And if you don't know what the brake to vacate system is, Jack, it's basically you can load up the aircraft map or the airport map that you're flying into your arrival airport. After you confirm all the aircraft's performance and weights, you can then go into that map and you can select the runway that you're landing on. The aircraft will compute how much distance it needs to land in a dry or wet. Sorry, EJ just caught my attention in my chat real quick. I'll handle that. in a dry or wet situation, and then you can actually select the taxiway that you want the aircraft to be slow enough to vacate by, and the aircraft will literally slow down and brake enough to vacate by that taxiway without you having to touch a thing.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I've heard you guys talk about it, but that's a good explanation. I wasn't aware of it. Now, my next question, before I ask CST what he thinks, is what does Ruby think? Ruby's back there behind you, Mike, looking beautiful as always.
Miss Ruby Rose, say hello to the chat.
Hello,
right.
Miss Ruby. Welcome to the virtual flight deck. CST, welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Let's hear what you've got about to say about the I build. Guy, I can't talk tonight. Inibuilds A350. What do you think, buddy?
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it. I guess unfortunately I haven't had as many issues as a whole lot of the community has had in with this aircraft.
Yeah,
but
same here.
yeah, 2020, 2024, no issues whatsoever. I had one Wasm crash, which was like version 1 of the plane. But ever since the first update, I haven't had any issues whatsoever with the plane. But yeah, no, it's a great airplane. I love it. I'm not a real 350 pilot, so I don't know if you know, the systems or whatnot and under the hood, it's actually what it's supposed to do. You know, that's a question for Amir over at Phoenix, which, you know, he claimed that they could do it better, but I guess that he didn't want to do it. I don't know, but yeah.
Very good, very good.
Awesome.
So well worth the price and the effort there. It sounds like, guys. I think that it sounds like a well worth the price. Boy, I can't get my brain in gear tonight. I am sorry for some reason.
It's all good. I'll tell you, the price point that Inibuilds has selected for this aircraft is smack on what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it needed to be any more. They 100% could have, with the fact that this is the first semi, you know, I wouldn't say it's the best product that I've ever had in the flight simulator, but it is up there within the top 3, I would say. But when it comes to the price point, it's definitely worth the money. I would highly recommend it. And definitely if you're starting to learn long haul flying and getting into those heavier jets that can do 8, 10, 15 hours in the air, the model is beautiful too. I mean, you look at the wing and while it's flying through turbulence, and I'm telling you, Jack, the minute you hear those flap sounds in your ear versus watching someone's live stream and you actually hear it within your sim, the flap sounds are, I'd pay $75 for those flap sounds.
Well, just coming over your audio, it sounded pretty amazing because I've been there, you know, when you were commenting on that very fact, and it looks and sounds pretty incredible.
I actually just got an interesting comment in my chat too. Is that someone said, unpopular opinion, but I'm willing to wait for the Phoenix A350 if that ever comes to fruition. And I think everybody here, at least personally for me, the market's wide open, and if Phoenix wants to do it, by all means, you know, if they want to do it. Yeah,
I don't know. Let me clarify that for the community. 350 from Phoenix is not coming. I already said they're not going to do it.
Yeah, I'd assume so. But
so
for whatever reason,
and they, you know, it's the reason for them not doing it is, I don't know, because somebody bit them to the punch and released one first, and they got all upset, so they stopped on the project. From what I can see from the outside eye looking in, I don't know the inside of it. I'm not part of Phoenix developing team, so but from what I've seen in the Phoenix Discord and what's being talked about on why they quit developing the 350, it's crybaby crap. That's all that is. Oh, they released it. It's not as good as we could have done it. We were working on it, but now we're not going to do it anymore because they released theirs. Like, what kind of crap is that? If you think you can do it better, put your money where your mouth is and just do it. Don't be talking crap about other developers. You know,
that's my whole thing. Is like, market's open. You know, if you decide to come back and say, hey, we're going to do it, I'm here for it. I don't mind having 2 350s in my sim. You know,
when did they say that they were working on that?
It's on the Discord. They said they were working on it for a few years, from what I understand now.
I think,
and they stopped the project when Inibuilds announced that we're going to do it.
It was on Amir's plate.
I don't know.
It was on Amir's plate, and he said he was 100% planning to do the 350. But once Inibuilds announced that they were doing it, they X the project and they focused on other things.
From what I understand, they weren't planning to do it. They were already doing it. They stopped developing it because of Inibuilds.
Oh, I might be
Literally,
mistaken.
the words were, "We stopped the development on the 350 because
Mm.
of this reason." And then they proceeded to talk down about the Inibuild product, and it was not a good product. And under the hood, it was not doing the right things that none of us, 99% of the flight sim community, would know nothing about. But I just told it was a childish and stupid move by the Phoenix developing team. They should just shut up, just do it if you want to do it. If not, then do something else. Or
It,
why don't you just tend to the community? The community wants a 320 and 321 Neo. Why don't you do that instead of trying to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
I think
you know,
that's just common sense, right? Hey, I
Well,
already have a good platform. Build on this platform because instead of moving onto a whole new project that's going to take you, knowing Phoenix, it will probably take them about 6 to 7 years to develop a 350. You know, considering it took them what 6 to 8 months to give us sharplets.
Yeah.
Come on, let's be serious about the whole situation here.
it sounds to me, honestly, like people aren't really looking at business plans in some of the developer community. I've known you guys for, nigh on a couple of years now. And one of the things that I keep seeing as a common theme is it seems like all of these developers, at least, some of the larger ones, are really just kind of, I think, a little more ego driven than they should be,
Well,
and they complain childishly about other. I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here. Like I said, I'm an old guy. I don't have time for that
yeah.
crap. You know,
I
what do
think
you think?
I think where the argument is made, or not argument, I should say, but where Phoenix was saying that they could have done it better. And who knows, that could be a true statement. We don't know. Until they do it, we won't know. However, I think where Phoenix is making their statements is basically you look at the A320 family platform, right? The 1920 and 21. And there are so many things in that aircraft that you are able to do and not able to see just by the naked eye that the aircraft is doing in the background, right? So like for example, the the oil viscosity actually changes within the sim based off of the temperature that the engine is running. That's not something that you would see in like the PMDG or you would see in other everyday used aircrafts that we see in the sim. So when it comes to the level of detail that Phoenix goes into their products is where I believe their opinion, and I put heavy quotations over their opinion because it's again I disagreed with what they were saying. um I think they're saying is there's too much that the aircraft does not do, and I agree with CST where when we say this that 99% of the flight sim community probably would not care that the aircraft does. You know, for me personally, even with any builds, for me personally, I could give a damn about a bird strike simulation. I could care less. I just want the aircraft to fly point A to point B at a semi high fidelity level with the systems in depth to my knowledge, to where I know how to fly the aircraft and it's able to fly established procedures or ILS approaches, RNAV approaches, fly a hold adequately, be able to participate in events such as cross the land or cross the pond without having to worry about a controller telling me to do a hold that I can't do or else off 330, right? So I think that's where there's been a strong what's the word I'm looking for? I think Phoenix is just saying that they want more detail in the aircraft. And for me personally, the Inibuilds 350 has plenty. It's enough for the everyday flight simmer to be able to log into the aircraft and say this is a high fidelity aircraft. I mean, for God's sakes, they have real world A350 pilots testing with Inibuilds to make this aircraft what it is now. So I think their argument is kind of null and void. It's like, well, you can sit here and say that, we should have more in-depth systems and we should have the 2,000 plus ECAM actions and memos and so on and so forth. But is the everyday simmer like myself going to care about that stuff? Probably not.
I don't think so. I certainly don't. And it leads me to another question I want to go around the group and ask too. But Mark, what do you think about some of this? I'm curious to know what you think about it seems to be, is it a competition or is it an ego driven thing?
I think it's a little both. Coming from Flight Sim 2002, this is the norm. I think for a lot of our new simmers, they're just getting their first taste of it. Kind of had a little dry spell here between P3D, Microsoft 2020, X-Plane 12. The fight has been more so with the battle of the sims. Now we're in one sim with a battle of developers. Now, um, it's always been here. It ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care about the whole simulation of bird strikes, lightning strikes, whatever they got on that whole page of stuff that I don't pay attention to. I'm just going point A to point B. If I want to simulate
Yeah.
failures, I'll set it up myself. But
And to
in
put in
terms of,
perspective, I apologize. Go ahead, Mark.
go ahead. Yeah, in terms of delivering me a whole set of that, they could have did without that. That would save my computer a couple of gigs of memory.
Yeah, and to put in perspective for you, Jack, Amir from Phoenix stated this in their Discord, which again doesn't justify what he was saying, in my personal opinion. The A350 is his all-time favorite aircraft ever to exist in the aviation world, which is why he said he's so passionate about it. But at the
Sure.
same time, I'm a Corvette fan. Doesn't mean that I get to go to Chevy and bash on their new Corvette C8 because I think it's a piece of garbage, right?
There you go. Nice. Yep. Yep, for sure. By the way, Al said it was a plan. Randy says, anyone remember Sublogic 5.25-inch floppy day? Oh, yes, I do. I most certainly do. So, EJ, your take on this particular part of the issue?
I think we've got two developers that have their own different types of followings. It's not the first time we saw something like this happen. I very strongly remember the difference between FS Labs and Aerosoft when we had the 320, 321 back in the day. And FS Labs took their time to develop the plane that they wanted to develop. Aerosoft was able to get it done much quicker, and it satisfied a demographic of the population that just wanted to fly in a 320, which included me. And I'll be honest, I don't necessarily look for study level or the most realistic. I look for the most fun that I'm going to have, and Aerosoft gave me that plane that I was looking for. People who liked FS Labs wanted that more in-depth feel, the things that Phoenix does, where you have like buttons that you press in the cockpit that you wouldn't even know it did anything, and pilots wouldn't even know it does anything unless it's malfunctioning, and Phoenix modeled it.
Mhm.
If it comes down to the 350, I think they made a very silly decision to stop developing an aircraft because another developer beat them to the punch. I would understand if that was their market, what Inibuilds has released, if that was the type of plane that Phoenix was planning on making, but it's not. And so, in my opinion, the people who want that higher study level, um, they would have waited for Phoenix. And even the people who bought the Inibuilds plane, if they really wanted that in-depth feel, they probably would have bought it. I wonder if there's more to the story here, like they got into it and then realized how much work it was going to be, and then decided, yeah, this isn't for us. We just don't have the time to commit to it. But to me, it's very silly for them to allow something as quick as mundane as just the fact that any builds released a A350 ahead of them to stop them from making
Yeah.
a plane. As a matter of fact, why didn't it stop them when Inibuilds made the 320 and 321, and they still released their own plane? So I don't understand their logic on this one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
same thing with the people that have not bought the iFly because they're waiting for the PMDG Max 8 to come out. You know, it's the you have it's like your X-planers versus Microsofters. You have your X-planers that'll be faithful to that sim to the day they die and will not hop over to Microsoft and so on and so forth. But again, my opinion is the fact that the market is wide open. If Phoenix decides to say and come back and hey, we've decided to do the A350, well, I'll be waiting. Let me know when it's
Yeah.
there, and I will happily check out the product, and I'll make my determination of opinion there. But for what it's worth, I mean, it still does not diminish the fact that the Inibuilds 350 is an incredible airplane. I just,
Absolutely.
Amir from Phoenix just said he thought that their team could have done a better job, and that he's disappointed that Inibuilds didn't include the stuff that they would have included. But tomato, can't complain
Yeah.
about another company, right? It's like I said, you use the car market for a reason. It's like Chevy coming out with a brand new Silverado 1500 with all the cut type of stuff, and Ford going, well, I guess our F-150's next. It just doesn't make sense like that.
For sure, for sure. Well, listen, that actually is a question I wanted to ask you guys tonight too. You kind of touched on it in there a little bit. You're live streamers. You do great content. You know, you're flying airplanes. You're looking at them in depth. You're teaching people how to use the airplane and how to program it, how to fly it, how to do all the procedures and all of that. But do any of you guys do failure simulation at all? Now, Mike, I think you said you didn't, but CST, do you ever, get up in the air and says, okay, guys, I haven't seen you do this on a stream, but get up in the air and say, okay, we're going to fail the right engine and do the procedure to go back and land safely. You know, do you do any of that kind of stuff, CST?
No, I leave that to the real palates of the YouTube world. That's not for me to do because I'm not trained in that. I'm not gonna be doing it the right way regardless. So if I do it, it will just be a clickbait, stupid freaking thing that I would do just do why. I don't see no reason for it. It's like, you know, it's like anything else, right? I'm not gonna go bake a cake. I'm not a freaking I don't know how to bake a cake, right? That's not what I do, right? I know just enough to get me in trouble. So I find it silly when I see people that actually simulate that kind of stuff and they actually go, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Like they know what they're talking about. Like, shut up, dude. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're not a real pilot. You're not trained. You don't know what the EPs are. You don't even know what EP stands for. So, don't. Just don't.
I don't know what that stands for.
To be
Exactly my point. The only reason why I know a lot of this lingo is because I worked in the aviation industry for 26 years, right?
Of course you do.
But still, I'm not a pilot. I was stern qual, I was taxi qual. I was able to take the plane from one point to another on the ground. The only thing I wasn't able to do in a plane was take off and fly, right?
Yeah.
But because of my nature of being a structural and engine mechanic, I was able to do all these things and get qualifications to turn the plane up, check all the systems, taxi the plane around, go to high power spots, and bring the plane up to max powers and all that good setting, all the required settings, make sure that all the parameters were in limits. That's stuff that I did. So I was trained to actually know what to do in the event of an engine fire, right? Because I needed to be able to know that type of stuff, right? If I am at 92, N1% N1, and I get a number one engine fire, what do I do? That's not something you make up from the air like a lot of these people do in the streams. Oh, okay, this is what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna shut down the number two engine, and we're gonna pull this thing, and then we're gonna no, you don't know what you're doing. Don't do it, right? You're just looking silly. You just look silly. That's all it is.
Okay. All right. Very good. Mark, what do you think? Have you simulated? Have you tried to see the capabilities of the simulator with a failure like that, or set up random failures? The software will do that. I've got all mine turned off. I am not there. So what do you think?
I don't do it on. I do it in the privacy of my computer screen. I don't want anybody to see me doing it. I just do it to mess around. A little bit like CST. Got some training, but not enough training to say, hey, not Mr. V1 or flight deck to sim. I don't have a FAA card right here saying that I'm type rated on something, so I don't really mess around with this stuff.
Sure.
If it happens, I deal with what I can just to get the plane where I'm going. So.
Yeah. EJ, how about you, buddy? What do you think?
I think I just like to have fun, and so yeah.
Pretty much a consensus. Mike, any further thoughts on that one?
Well, for me, I see both. I see both. How am I trying to word this? I see both reasons for it being there versus not being there. I see those that want those types of failures within the aircraft so they can simulate it and do their best to learn and all that kind of stuff. Because, there are people that use the simulator for practice, and, V1 uses the sim to, get before he goes in for a 6-month check and stuff like that to go over, engine 1 fails and V1 cuts and so on and so forth. And for me personally, like I said, I think the vast majority of flight simmers are those that just want to get in the plane, fly, and get to their destination without any issue. Now, obviously, you have your issues here and there where the aircraft just isn't cooperating with you, which isn't a failure of the airplane. So sometimes it just doesn't work. But, I've had my fair share of emergencies, quote unquote, quotational emergencies within the simulator. I've had a pressurization failure in the 737. I've had an engine fire on takeoff in the Airbus because, for whatever reason, I decided to de-ice the aircraft with the engines running. And I think Phoenix doesn't like GSX de-icing for some reason. So, I've had my fair share of being on the VATSIM network and having to declare an emergency and hoping that the air traffic controller on at the time will accept my emergency and handle me back to the airplane or back to the airport. But, for me, like I said, I think vast majority of people just want to be able to simulate a point A to point B flight without issue. And that's where I think majority of our developers are gearing that towards. Now, obviously, all of the aircrafts that we fly have the capability to simulate emergencies. But for the everyday simmer, there are things within the Phoenix 320 that I will never touch in its life cycle because I just don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't have failures on in my sim, but when they happen, I handle it because the Airbus literally will tell you what you need to do in order to handle this emergency adequately, right? It's either land ASAP, handle the ECAM memo, get back to the airport, So do I think emergencies are fun? Hell yeah. There's some cool aspect to it because especially if you're flying in a not so busy airspace, when I had that pressurization failure in the 737, I actually was on VATSIM flying a United virtual flight, flying from LA to San Francisco. The pressurization of the aircraft failed at like 29,000 feet. I had to do an emergency descent down to 10,000 and return to LA, and VATSIM handled it 100%, bringing me back to the airport. And United Virtual accepted my PIREP because I put in my notes that I had to return to the airport due to a pressurization failure and declared an emergency. So it was a cool simulation. It was cool. It was cool to see the simulation behind it and see, hey, what's your fuel in minutes? How many souls on board? So on and so forth. Obviously, we don't. It's me, myself, and I at my comfort of my own home. I don't have 168 people behind me, real world, right? But for what it's worth, I love that it's there and that you have the ability to do it. So if you want to go and do your V1 cuts and your engine 1 fires and do your autopilot failures or your IRS failures or whatever it may be, it's there, so you can do it. But I don't think it's something that the vast majority of the community is really concerned about having within the aircraft. And I think that's the dumbest argument people have made with me is like, well, you can't do failures. I was like, I don't give a shit about failures, to be quite honest with you. Does the airplane fly? Will it simulate to the best of its ability me doing a point A to point B flight successfully? Right? Am I able to fly direct? Am I able to do a hold? Am I able to fly an RNAV procedure? That's what I care about. I don't give a damn about bird strikes. I don't care about the engine cowling getting dented. I don't care about going into the aircraft engine and checking the oil. Because that's not my job. My job is to get into the airplane and fly it. But yeah, I mean, I'll do it every once in a while. If I want to simulate an emergency, I'll just, hey, turn them on. See what happens. Yeah. Let's see what emergency I get this time.
Yeah. Do you keep any kind of checklist? Do you have a quick lookup of an emergency checklist for anything?
To be quite honest with you, not necessarily checklist wise. If I have a specific emergency because you have to understand when it comes to real world, every airline will have a different procedure they want their pilots to follow in the event of an emergency. It's called their standardized operating procedures. Every airline handles emergencies differently. Now, obviously, you have what the manufacturer requires or / recommends in the event of an emergency, but the airlines do have the ability to sway from the aircraft's or the aircraft manufacturer's recommendations and come up with their own checklist. Airbus is simple. You get an emergency, boom, it pops up right in that middle screen. You follow that line for line, and you're handled. That's all you got to do. But for me, nah. If I get an engine fire, I know, let me follow my ECAM action because I'm flying to 320 primarily. Let me follow the ECAM action. Let me discharge the agent. Let me go back to the airport, and we'll go from there. Did I do it like a real world pilot? Probably not. Yeah. But for the hardcore simmers that are training and real world pilots and stuff like that, by all means, it's there.
There you go. Yeah, it's within the software. It's easy to disable or enable as you like. I thought that was an interesting question. By the way, I want to take just a little bit of a station break and thank those of you who have subbed in. I'm 5 away from 500. Hey, how about that? Yeah, pretty groovy. Mike, you and Al's and CST have just been excelling lately. Your channels have been growing. It's so good to see. I think you guys just provide such great content, such enjoyable evenings of watching you guys fly. And now I want to ask you real quick. Don't forget, guys, to hit that thumbs up button on both Mike's channel and my channel. If you wouldn't mind, that would be awesome. I appreciate the subs over here. We were talking about that a little bit before we got started off air, and so appreciate each and every one of you for sharing some of your time with us, spending some of your valuable time hanging out with us and watching what we're doing. Hopefully, really having a good time as well. Let's go to the next topic here, real quick, which I wanted to hit on. We touched in the last TVFD about 2024. Is it worth it? Is it worth it now after a couple of months? What are the developments? Oh, by the way, yeah, I'm sorry. Brandon Sim Pilot, hello and welcome into the chat. Good to see you there. Randy, glad to have you. Let's see, who else have we got at the moment? Mike, you probably got some popping up in yours over there. You want to acknowledge anybody?
I've got Mr. DZ Aviation. Guys, if you are not familiar with who DZ Aviation is, he's another flight sim content creator here on YouTube. He is a fantastic content creator. Unfortunately, he's been down a little bit with the Rona, a very bad variant of the Rona. So I'm glad he's recovering well. Kevin47, my man VSeth is here. Appreciate it. I had to ban somebody. That will get rid of that. But yeah, guys, we're still here doing the virtual flight deck podcast per the usual with Mr. CST Gaming, Major Mark, and EJ Davis, wherever the hell Owls is fucking off to right now. I don't know. Excuse my language, but he's probably just trying to become another sim-rated 321 Delta pilot again. But Mo Aviator, Activision Flight Plane Studios, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. Guys, Jack is 5 away from 500. Everybody that's in my chat, go to Captain Jack, subscribe, watch his content. He just has so much fun over there, man. You know, it's not your typical everyday flight sim content creator over there, and where you're just getting in and doing your point A to point B flying and calling it a day. Jack has some fun over there, so I'd highly recommend you guys go check him out. So make sure you go ahead and head over and let's get this guy to 500, shall we?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I'm finding a little bit of a different niche that I want to do. A lot of you may or may not know. I'm a disc jockey from way back in the early 70s, and I've found something that I've started doing, especially doing cruise. Now, we still do all the procedures and talking to ATC and so on and so forth, but I think maybe I'm just a little on the hair less serious side. And I don't monetize my channel. Never want to monetize it. Don't care to do it. Don't care about any of that. I just want to have fun and kind of do what I want to do, and maybe even promote a little music that the younger generation isn't necessarily familiar with. So, guys, touch over on one of my streams sometime, and I'll show you what's going on. I'm gonna kind of angle off in a little bit of a different direction. One, because it's fun and what I've loved to do. And if you ever get a chance, look up on YouTube here, look up Jojo, Jojo Kincaid on Q106 in San Diego. He will blow your minds. That's the kind of disc jockey I want to be when I grow up. So we'll leave it at that. Let's get on to the flight sim question, though. CST, why don't you start us off? 2024, has it grown up enough to be worth it at this time? What do you think?
Oh, time out. Cap Jack at 500. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Mickey Mike comes in. Yeah, Mickey Mike chat coming clutch. Appreciate y'all. Hell yeah. Congratulations on 500. That's an incredible milestone.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, CST. Apologize.
What do you think, mate?
I'm enjoying it. I've been flying it more and more lately, especially after Sim Update 1. The only thing that is not making me move to 2024 all the way is the lack of airplanes. Right now, we only have the Phoenix, the 350 and 300, and that's it. And then we have this stock Asobo aircraft, which are one more shitty than the other. But that's to put it mildly. I tried the Max the other day, and it was a total disaster.
I was gonna say, man, I saw that thumbnail, and I was like, oh man.
I was trying to give it a shot. I was trying to give it a chance, but it's got no chance, man. And going back to that, right? So I did that stream. I flew that plane. If you're an Xbox player, that plane is perfect, right? It's gonna do what you need to do on Xbox. If you are new to flight simulation and you have a PC, and you don't want to spend, whatever it is, 60, $70 for the iFly, that plane will do you, right? It's going to get you to where you're going, but it's not comparable to an iFly, a PMDG. I would say that that's right around the same level as a light VFR plane or one of those, right? And so it's got the basics. It does the basics, and that's about all it's got. Even textures and all that good stuff. It's not at the level of PMDG and iFly, which I wouldn't expect it, right? It's a free airplane that comes with the sim, so it is what it is at the end of the day. But like I said, for the young new flight simmer and for the Xbox guys that don't have anything else, it'll do the job. But going back to the question, I have tried out a lot of sceneries from 2020, porting them to 2024, and for the most part, it all worked. Now they're not the best, meaning some of the textures might not be 100%, but they still look decent in 2024. For the most part, the only scenery that I come across that doesn't work for me, and it seems to work for other people, I don't know why that's a thing, is the Inibuild LAX. LAX does not work for me. So right now I'm rocking the Asobo LAX in 2024, but for the most part, I've ported over a lot of my sceneries from 2020 to 2024, and it all seems to work just fine. You just got to make sure that you do the same thing you do with 2020, right? There was a rumor going around that you don't have to do this, but you 100% have to do it. You got to go into your library in the marketplace, and you got to disable the Asobo scenery if there is one. Because just like 2020, you can't have two sceneries overlapping each other. It's not going to work out. It's going to give you issues. So make sure you do that. Another thing to watch out for in 2024 right now, even after sim update 1, is a lot of the liveries for aircraft that are on either flysim.to and even some of the installers, kind of like the one with Phoenix. Some of the liveries that you install on 2024 will make your sim crash. So if you are experiencing CTDs, I would suggest that the first thing you look at is liveries. Take your liveries out of the community folder and see if the plane works, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the livery. Something about the livery, I don't know what it is. Even if it says, if you download a livery on flightsim.to that says it's good for 2024, make sure that you are checking it. And a lot of times that's what it was. I was going nuts for 3-4 days trying to figure out why my Phoenix would not load and crash to desktops and all that good stuff. I reinstalled the Phoenix, reinstalling the same damn liveries, and then I figured out, I'm like, well, let me just put the plane in the community folder and see what happens. And it worked like a charm, right? And then I slowly started to implement the liveries back in until I found what livery was causing the issue. I forget which one it was, but one of the liveries were making my sim either not load, stay into the clouds, the little cloud view where it just stays up there.
Oh, the GTA
and it just stays
view.
up there forever. Yeah, the GTA view. And or it would just crash, right? So definitely look at that. But for the most part, I even flown the 380, the fly-by-wire 380 and the fly-by-wire 320 supposedly are good to go. I know the 380 flies just fine on 2024 because I've already tried it. I haven't tried the fly-by-wire 320 Neo yet, but I'm sure if the 380 works, the 320 is probably gonna have no issues. But yeah, once the PMDG makes it over to 2024, which is not looking too good right now. They keep delaying it. They keep saying it's gonna take a while. Something with the SDK. I don't know what's going on in PMDG's house right now. But if people like Fly-by-Wire and Inibuilds and Phoenix are able to do it, why in the hell is it so hard for somebody else to? I'm not sure. Maybe they're liking the experience. Maybe they don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, I love my PMDGs, just like I love my Phoenix and Inibuilds and all that good stuff. So I want my PMDGs in the sim. I want my E-Jets in the sim. I want my CRJ. I want all those planes that I have in 2020 that I paid good money for. I want them in 2024. Even if I got to pay for an upgrade fee, I don't care. I just want it. Once those make it over to 2024, I am most likely not going to be a 2020 person anymore.
Wow. Okay. That's quite an endorsement. By the way, real quick, does 2024 use the add-on linker as well?
Yes, there's a separate.
Yes, there's a 2024 add-on linker you can get from
same developer. Same exact developer, same exact UI. It looks identical to the one for 2020. You will just see it says when you download it, it'll say add-on linker 2024. So
Okay.
it's
Now
the
that's
exact same app.
And could you use that then to do some of your porting over of your scene? Put them in a file folder and then
so
give them a test?
CST and I are actually working together one day because he was having troubles getting his Fly Tampa Las Vegas working, and it's very simple. I just go into my 2020 community. I either go into my 2020 community folder and I copy and paste directly from that community folder into my 2024 community folder, and then I put it up into my add-on linker, my add-ons folder. But there are some times where you might just have to do a fresh download of the scenery and then take that file and drag it into your 2024 community folder, because you'll see some discrepancies with some sceneries there, here and there, but it's not major enough to where you can't fly into the airport.
Okay. EJ, what do you think about 2024? Is it grown up enough now that it's worth it?
Honestly, I haven't given it a try, so I've been watching my fellow, or not my fellow, because I'm not a streamer, but I've been watching my dear streamers here, and as their journey progresses, I've been deciding whether or not to get there. And currently, I've just decided it's not my time yet. I'm on the same page as CST here. The planes aren't there yet, and that's what I care about. I almost was tempted to with the 350 just because it's got more eye candy in it on 2024. But for the moment, when PMDG and everybody is still lagging behind here and we're in 2020, I'll stay here until I see those planes over there. And honestly, even at that, I don't see like a huge difference between these two sims, that even if 2024 was working perfectly, my 2020 is working perfectly. So I don't have like any major reason to make that jump.
Let me tell you one thing about one of the major difference between 2020 and 2024, in my experience, is the aircraft handling. So you might say the only difference between the 350 on 2020 and 2024 is the cabin and the eye candy. It's not. It's a totally different aircraft. Like I've flown in 2020, and then I have to relearn how to fly on 2024 because it handles completely different. The flight model and everything, the way it reacts with the environment in 2024, because the environment in 2024 is a lot more realistic, as we all know. That's kind of like one of the major points of 2024. It's a totally different aircraft. Same thing with the Phoenix. It reacts totally different. So you literally got to reteach yourself on how to fly those planes, because there's a lot more to it. You're looking at I've actually experienced wake turbulence on arrival and departures, all that good stuff, man. It's real, it's there, and that's what makes it even better, in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to sell it here. I'm not making any money off of it. The only I'm just speaking by what I have experienced, right? So it does feel better, and performance wise it's better as well, right? So for those people that are having issues with the sim, obviously like, oh, this performance on the sim is crap, right? This doesn't work. For me, it's been running fantastic, and the performance I get out of it, it's double the FPS. So on a good day, I would get 90 to 100 FPS on 2020 with the same settings, same aircraft, same environment, same airport. I get double that. I'm looking at like 150 to 170 FPS on 2024. It's absolutely ridiculous. So whatever they did with that thing, whether it's a streaming thing that they got going on, I don't know what it is, but the sim just runs smoother, it looks better, the colors are better. The night lighting makes me want to cry, dude. Every time I fly at night, I start crying. I'm like, this is real. Wow. This is great. This is outstanding. Could they tone down a little bit on some of the bloom and stuff like that? Sure, they could. Maybe sometimes it's a little too bloomy, but at the same time, it's gorgeous, dude. Even the skies, the stars, the moon, you name it, dude. It's just like the city, like when you're flying over a city and you got that city glow at night that you see if you're flying on a plane in real life. That's what you see in 2024. It's so good, man. I think it's got great potential. We all know it's not there yet. Obviously, there's only been one update. But from release until now, I think we've already moved miles, right? Because we went from a sim that we couldn't even download right, and install, to now after sim update 1, we have a sim that's semi-stable, right, already. We already seen a lot of third-party developers optimizing their sceneries and their aircraft, so that's coming. Some are slower than others, but it's coming. So I'm very excited for it, and I was excited before the release of 2024. Then they killed my excitement very quickly, right? With the first couple of weeks. Then I put it down. I was like, this is garbage. I'm not gonna do it. 2020 for life type deal, right? And then I went back into it with the Sim Update 1 beta, and it just blew my mind. So if you have it, if you already have the sim, and I'm not talking about you as in just you guys here in the panel, I'm talking about everybody that's listening or whatever. If you have the sim, give it a shot, right? Optimize it for your system. Obviously, you're not going to be able to run ultra everything if you have, a 2060. My God, right? So, I've had people asking me on stream all the time, like, oh, well, what's your settings? That's a silly question if you ask me, right? Like, first of all, what is your system? You can't mimic my settings, right? I spend $6,000 on my computer, right? The average person doesn't have $6,000 to throw on a computer and have a 4090 and all this good nonsense to be able to run everything on ultra and get 170 FPS on 2024, right? So to ask what my settings are is kind of silly. What you need to do is recognize what you have and optimize the sim to be able to run efficiently on your system, right? Don't do what other people are doing, right? And
Mhm.
the majority of us, well, not the majority, but a lot of the people that are streaming, they have a pretty good system, right? Because they got to be able to run OBS, they got to run 20 billion freaking windows in the background, chats and the sim and Navigraph and you name it, right? We're running, s- some of us have 3 or 4 freaking cameras for all the different camera views and Toby's and peripherals. So the computer's got to be able to handle all that. And that's the reason why we put a pretty penny on it, because if we want to continue to do this and stream and, showcase and all that, we got to be able to do it, right? We can't just do it on Apple laptop, right?
it's,
So
it's an
if you know what
investment
I
for
mean.
sure.
So it's an investment, dude. So whenever I see people asking, oh, what are your settings? Your sim looks great. It doesn't matter. Like that's not a question that you should ask. You just take a look at what you got and optimize the sim to your system, right? Make it run smooth, make it look decent. Uh, you can't set it to ultra and rock it, dude. It's not gonna work out, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. If you're having issues with the sim to where you having stutters or lags or whatever it is, turn some settings down, dude. Play with the settings. That's all you gotta do. Get it to where it's running smooth. And yes, it's probably not gonna look as good as a lot of the people you see on YouTube, but you got to think about how much money was spent into making it look it that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, how about you? 2024, is it worth it now?
Kind of like the rest of the panel. Yeah, I call it Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 Airbus Edition because right now that's all we got to sim is Airbus. uh, I know the Boeing lineup is coming, but I'm like Mello. I really want to get in my iFly, my PMDG, and take a spin in 2024 in it. I've had success in it. I'm actually flying it right now with no problems. Very good frames. Again, your sim, your PC build may vary on how the sim runs, but I think ultimately we're getting there. Sim Update 1 has helped out a lot in terms of stability, crash to desktop for some, but not all. But I think as we continue down the line, it will get better. I mean, just look at the rollout of Microsoft 2020. A lot of people didn't fully switch over until what about Sim Update 4 or 5. So I mean, just give it a little more time, and it'll be there for everybody to enjoy.
Okay. Okay, good. EJ, I'm sorry. Did I ask you this question already? Did you get to answer this one?
Yeah, I did. Thank you, though.
Okay.
Double checking.
Well, yeah, yeah. I've been paying such close attention to everybody. Kind of forgot what you said back in there. For me now, guys, the money's going elsewhere. I'm not interested in 2024. 2020 is working so great for me right now. It's virtually problem free. Let's hope it stays that way next time I kick on the stream. But bottom line there for me, it's just not worth the money right now. Everything is working. It's looking good. It's working the way I want it. I'm happy. Mike, What's your final thoughts on this?
Well, for me, I've had a bit of a different experience with 2024. For some reason, 2024 is just not working for me very well. I attempted to fly the 350 on 2024 a couple of times on stream, and unfortunately, I was not successful, to say the least. Now, granted, that probably had to do a lot with the WASM issues that the 350 was dealing with at the initial release. So I have not updated to Sim Update 1 because I'm in the same ballpark as you, Jack. 2020 is working beautifully for me, so I don't see any reason to make the full switch just as of yet. But obviously, at a content creation standpoint, 2024 is definitely something that I'm going to keep my eye on and make sure that will, because I have to agree with CST, man. The night lighting alone in that simulator is incredibly different. It is actually, in my opinion, the first sim that has gotten the night lighting done right. Now, like CST said, the bloom could be because when it first released, it looked good, but man, you would land at an airport and those lights would just be blinding you because they were so heavy. But they've toned it down a lot since then, and the night lighting in that sim looks incredible. The flight dynamics feel great. You know, the turbulence, I don't have to have a third-party add-on for turbulence and wake turbulence for that sim and all that kind of stuff like I do in 2020. But for now, you know, 2020 is still very much so my simulator and the simulator that I'm going to run until I can figure out what my stability issue is with 2024 and why it's operating the way it does. And until more aircraft end up over on that sim, because eventually I think everybody's eventually going to have to move over to 2024. That's just how Microsoft has done their sims for years. You know, you get 4-year installments. Obviously, Flight Simulator X was the last flight simulator that we had for Microsoft before they did that. What was it? Microsoft Flight, which was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then you had P3D come along with Lockheed Martin, and then everybody swapped over to P3D and then X-Plane, you know, and then finally Microsoft said, hey, we're coming back. Microsoft 2020. Hey, Microsoft 2024, you know. So I'd say by Sim Update 3, Sim Update 4, I think they learned a lot of lessons from 2020 initially, and I don't think they want to have as many updates come out initially. I think they want to get the game running good enough by the first few updates for people to start making the switch over. Because I think at some point it's gonna be inevitable. You know, where we're gonna have to move over to 2024 because there are gonna be developers that come along the way and say, hey, we're developing for 2024, so you know, obviously there's still a lot of cool things coming to 2020. Obviously, i.e. Bluebird, ladies and gentlemen, Bluebird 20, it's releasing for 2020, not 2020, 2020. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Jack. It's definitely not a sim that I see too much potential in right now. It's got the potential, but I don't see it right now, at least for me.
I agree. Brad of Sim Pilot in my chat here says you're going back to the power of computers that CST mentioned. You're right. Not everybody has the same systems. He also says, interesting. I've been flying the A350 in the updated 2024. No problems. Good deal. I think you're maybe a little more rare than some. And the A350 evidently updated today for both platforms.
It did. It is on version 1.0.4 now. It's the 4th update that's come out since release.
Okay, very good. Yep, not going to do it yet, but like you said, Mike, you know, one day we're all going to have to do Windows 11 or 12 or 15 or 18 or
man, Jack, I just had to go up to Windows 11 when I had my computer in the shop, and I was pissed. I was so mad. Because the computer shop called me. He's like, I can tell you majority of your issues are coming from being on Windows 10. You're running extremely updated software on an older base. So he's like, I'm going to tell you right now, go to Windows 11, let's test it, and then we'll go from there. Got the computer home with Windows 11 installed, and everything ran flawlessly, and I was so frustrated. I was like, you're telling me all I had to do was update to Windows 11, I just dropped $250 in this shop for you to diagnose the problem? Now, granted, I probably would have never thought of that. I would have been like, no, it's Windows 10, bro. Like, it's not that old. Then you look at it and it's like, man, Windows 10 has been out for a while, you know? Yeah. Phoenix says, is the 757 coming with the 767 or separate? Phoenix, they are going to be separate aircrafts. 75 is going to be releasing first, the 75-200, then the 300, then the 75 freighter, and then after that will be the 76.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good. That'll be some fun stuff. I'll definitely.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I don't know if I told you, Jack, and people or people are going to say I'm flexing this, but I'm not. I have partnered with Bluebird, so I have got some insider information with that company that I am not able to disclose. So
Good for you. Good for you.
I am so excited for that 7.5, man. This is my all-time favorite aircraft, and I promise you guys will be so sick of seeing that airplane on my channel because I'm going to be flying it every day.
I rode in a 757 from Denver to Hotlanta one time, and I'll tell you what, right now, man, that thing is a bloody hot rod.
It's a rocket ship, ain't it?
It is, and I'll tell you right now, I'd forego the other purchases if that one were ready to go at this point. I'm excited about that too. Let's guys, let's talk location here for just a minute. Trying new places. What are your favorite airports? EJ, this is something you and I were going to touch on here, and you mentioned it way back in the very beginning, and I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about location. What are some places that you think would be fun to fly, that you've got some ideas on? What are your favorite airports these days? What do you say?
Yeah, I'm going to be biased to the Caribbean because for those of you who don't know, I work with the Caribbean very heavily on VATSIM. It's the facilities that I work day in and day out with our controllers, and helping them get brought up. And part of my role is also marketing the Caribbean. So I do a lot to encourage people to come fly down in the Caribbean. But outside of marketing that, I also very, very much feel passionate about getting to these places that don't have the attention that you see Atlanta and Denver and New York and all those other places get, because you get to have these unique landing experiences that you don't get to have elsewhere. For me, I love nothing more than to come into one of those airports that just has the most beautiful scenery as you're doing the approach. So I have taken anytime I do group flights with my friends, Jacob, the shout out to you. One of these guys that in VATCAR, and we always do these late night group flights, and we'll go to places that he would never go to, and they'll be like random places in Central Europe. And honestly, right now, that is my favorite place to fly in the network. Central Europe has these airports that are either going to be at these extremely high elevations, or they're going to have these airports that are right in the middle of mountains, and so you have this interesting terrain to go through. One of them that I think that has been around for a while that I would say is a great place to revisit is Innsbruck.
Yeah.
That valley approach is always fantastic. I can't remember if it was Mike or Owls that I was watching recently as they were doing a flight in there, and just watch them having to navigate that approach. That is really fun to just watch, much less do yourself. And it really, puts you to the test and gives you something fun to do, and you're not just sitting there and waiting for the ILS to capture and then trying to get the best landing rate. You actually have to pay attention to your speed and other things going into that approach. So I would say that if you're somebody who has a little bit of extra cash, pay attention to what places in Central Europe have new sceneries. Or if you're somebody who is a little bit more financially strapped on you just bought the A350, you're not trying to make any more expenses, go into flightsim.to and check out what is the word for that? Most popular. There's always some fields that are in that region, and you can see, like, just looking at the photos, the terrain around it. Those will be some fun places to go. So I recommend the Czech Republic, Romania. I just flew into Budapest today. That was a fun approach. Poland, those places are good places to go check out. And on top of that, the controllers are a lot of fun. If you come there during the middle of the day, the European day, they are packed because of all the overflights and the flights that land there as well. So it's a challenging experience already. But if you're really trying to test like your ability to comprehend VATSIM controllers, that's a real fun one, with sometimes thick European accents mixed with a heavy traffic load and a lot of scenery. That's where you get to test how good you are of a sim pilot.
That's great. I tell you, I'm excited about Flight Sim TO. I have downloaded so many airports from there just recently that are very well done. Now, granted, some of them are a little bit of an upgrade from the stock scenery, that's in the sim already. However, some of them are really nice. Check out their Frankfurt, Germany scenery. I mean, it looks it looks great and is so well done. You think you should be paying for it. What was it I downloaded the other day? It's Sao Paulo. What's Sao Paulo? SBRF, something like that. Man, I couldn't believe how good this stuff looked, and it's free. And you can also get for instance, MobiFlight customized profiles for the peripherals and all of that kind of thing there. What do you think, Mark? I'm excited about Flight Sim TO, to be honest with you, and this is something I wanted to bring up to the community that if you don't know about it, you got to check it out because EJ's right. There's so much good stuff on there, and it's mostly free, and that's the really cool thing about it. Mark, how about you?
My place probably to fly would be China. Asia.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Asian network.
Yes.
Asia is my go-to. Lots of different avenues for approach into a lot of countries over there. Ortho for the most part over there is good, and there's a lot of freeware for Asia, to believe it or not, that's really almost payware worthy. So I think Asia will probably be my spot to go.
Okay, that's great. And so I have not done that one yet. I just recently flew Seoul to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only Orient flight that I've done. Mike, how about you? What do you think?
I got to tell you, Jack, there is one airport in China that you must visit. It is an incredible approach as you fly over the, what's that mountain range, Mark? You know exactly which one I'm talking about because I see that smirk on your face.
I can't pronounce it right now, but you got to fly to Chongqing.
Chongqing Airport. That's a freeware. But there's also another airport that we flew into that night called Lhasa. Airport elevation is over 10,000 feet above sea level. It is incredible, and it flies over the Himalayas, if I'm not mistaken.
Believe that
something like that. I think it's the Himalayan mountain range that you actually fly over to get to that airport, and you have to navigate through mountain ranges to land within Lhasa. It's an absolutely incredible approach. And you think about it, you're cruising at 33,000 feet, and the airport's sitting at 11,500 feet ASL. You know, you really only have about 15,000 feet to work with before you're getting ready to land, right? So, but if you're talking about freeware sceneries, Jack, in my personal opinion, the best freeware sceneries that you can find on FlightSim.to that are payware quality that I would happily pay money for are Japan sceneries. You have got to look at the sceneries in Japan because Japan has incredible, like there's a freeware Hiroshima, which is an absolutely insane airport. Osaka, Fukuoka, Miyazaki. There are so many cool freeware airports on FlightSim.to that's done by one guy. It's the same guy that does them all. That are, like I said, they are payware quality. They're like 100% payware quality. Like I would have expected Inibuilds or Fly Tampa or Orbix to do these sceneries because they are that high quality. So I would definitely urge you to do some Japan flying. The winds out there are ridiculous. I will tell you that. The winds are insane. You're flying eastbound, sweet. You got 150, 160 plus knot tailwind. But you're flying westbound towards Korea and the east coast of China, like towards Shanghai and stuff like that, man, you're gonna be struggling for speed because the winds are incredible out there. So I'd highly recommend. Japan is probably my favorite spot to go to when it comes to branching out. There are a lot of places that I want to visit. Like I want to go up to. Let me open up my map here. I was just talking about this on stream the other day. Like I want to go up to Mongolia. I want to go up to Nepal. You know, I want to visit, places in Kazakhstan and so on and so forth. And also another really cool one, Jack, in the European sector, if I believe EJ was talking about the European sector, Vienna, Austria. Gorgeous approach, and it is an awesome airport. It's a bit of an expensive payware airport. I don't see any freewares available for it, but Vienna, Austria is probably one of the most gorgeous approaches I've flown in a while. And I did it in the 350, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, see, you're giving me all kinds of ideas here. Would love to look about. And interesting. Think about this. We talk about these places that we go to in the simulator, like where almost really going
Yeah.
there. And you know, I have spent hours and hours and hours. I've always been geographically oriented, just looking around Google Earth, looking up, you know, looking in cities, looking where I used to live, all this kind of stuff. And it almost makes me feel like I'm virtually really there. I can just see all this in my head, and it gets me excited. And I'm looking up some of these Japan airports over here on the other screen that you're talking about. And yeah, I'll be downloading these.
They're
I have an
insane.
entire drive.
Yeah.
I've got an entire drive just for that kind of thing. CST, how about you? What are some of your favorite places? What gets you excited there, man?
I mean, the somewhat challenging approaches are always fun to do. Like a lot of us were already mentioning, like the Innsbrucks and the Circuit of the Lands and the Santo Dumont, which I just did the other day. Those are all cool little airports to fly into. But as far as area flying, I do most of my flying in the North America region. Um, I do like to fly in Europe as well because a lot of times I like to do flights to Italy because that's what I'm from. That's where I grew up. So I always like to bring that back in. But like everywhere, to be honest, I like to do pretty much all over the place, and for the most part, it's all airlines type stuff, right? So a lot of the big international airports or whatnot. That's usually what I do. But I gotta tell you, um, I had a lot of fun doing Papua New Guinea at one point. And I have like all the Papua New Guinea airports, or if you want to even call them airports, I don't even, just dirt strips from Orbex. I think they got like 3 packs of Papua New Guinea stuff, man, and it's absolutely fantastic. I did a whole tour like type deal one time on stream, and I was hoping to get a lot more people to fly along because that thing is absolutely fantastic, dude. And my plan is to do it in the near future, but in 2024. So if those sceneries actually work in 2024, it's gonna be something phenomenal.
Oh yeah, those GA
Uh,
flyings,
get-
being able to get out of the airplane
yeah,
and
just
walk
get
around and
get in the
stuff like that.
Kodiak,
Yeah.
get in the Kodiak, and fly from one strip to another, Papua New Guinea, kind of like I did that one time when I had the whole tour of literally the whole Papua New Guinea. I was streaming for like 2 hours, flying all around the damn island, and I had a blast, man. So I think as far as the GA type deal in 2024, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to do is that aside from, obviously like the normal airline flying that we all love to do, but I do sprinkle a little bit of GA here and there. Bush flying more than GA, actually, not really GA, but bush flying.
Yeah, I've watched some of your streams with that, man. They are fun. They are fun and just such a real joy to watch. I've loved it when you do that. I'd love to see you do some more. Yeah, Mike, I looked up for instance Nagasaki Airport Enhanced, and it's for both 20 and 24,
Yep.
and it's free. I'm gonna have the flight sim computer downloaded here next time one of y'all talk for a minute.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
I'll also tell you too, Jack, there are two other areas of the world that come to mind that I've flown through that have pretty good freeware sceneries available for it that actually have some pretty believe it or not, the Philippines has some incredibly challenging airports to fly into.
Yeah.
You don't think about it because the Philippines is really just a small sector of islands in the middle of the just in the South China Sea, right? But they got some pretty challenging approaches. There's one airport particularly that I flew into off stream one day as I was just doing some flying, right? It was called Puerto Princesa is the airport or the little island that it flies into. The ICAO for that airport is Romeo Papa Victor Papa, and it was a full circle to land procedure that you fly into that airport. So you basically descend and you fly over the airport at about 2,000 feet. And then you bank right and do a full circle to land over that bay area, if you would, to land on runway. What runway is this? Runway 9. If you're landing runway 9. Now, if you're coming in from the opposite direction to runway 27, it's just an ILS approach. But if the winds are favoring the 9, it's a visual sector procedure turn to get to the final. It's a lot of fun. And I did that in the Phoenix. And then the other area that I've done a lot of flying in on stream and off stream, and I don't know if you've ever been down there, Jack, but definitely got to do some flying in Australia. Australia's got some good flying.
Yeah, I have not done that. Absolutely. Yeah, there's some great stuff there for sure. Oh man. Well, you've given me all kinds of things to do tonight.
Yeah.
by the way, in the chat, Brand of Sim Pilot says RJOO, RJFF, EKVG. I'm gonna look all these up. SKPS, LOWI, I believe, and T, and I like TNCM. I got to tell you, in EJ, that one is definitely awesome.
Oh yeah.
TNCM. Yeah.
I'll say that one has become kind of overrated now because it's just too popular. But
Yeah.
I see one in Mike's chat that I want to highlight. TDPD.
Oh yeah.
That one
In
is
Dominica?
Melville Hall. Yeah, that Melville Hall is the old name of it. I forget what the new name of that airport is, but it is
Managata or something like that. Hold on.
yeah. It is so hard.
Marigot,
You should
Douglas
go
Charles
look
Airport.
Yeah, so go look at a video of it on YouTube of a real life. They have a real landing of it in a E-175, and because American flies an E-175 down there from Miami. I don't know how they navigate onto that runway, but it is very hard. Definitely worth a challenging try.
You know, SimCFI puts in there River Visual KDCA is always fun. I got to admit it is that one is a blast as well. But you know,
you know what, Jack? Speaking of visual approaches, I just did this on stream a couple of weeks ago. Portland, Maine, the harbor visual into Portland, Maine is an incredible approach. I did that in the CRJ. It was when I was flying the United CRJ a couple of weeks back for that Friday night ops. We decided to do a third flight that day, and we flew up from Newark to Portland, Maine, and we shot the harbor visual, and it is an incredibly beautiful approach. Hand fly in the CRJ, man. I mean, and that was probably I got a -0 foot per minute on that landing. It was my smoothest landing I have ever done to this day. And it was a good landing too, man. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, does that say 0? Right? It was a fun day of flying. So definitely have to check out Portland, Maine. There's a beautiful payward scenery that is not expensive at all for that airport. And a lot of planes fly. American flies the 320 family into it. You know, United flies the CRJs. You know, there's a lot of good flight options out of Portland, Maine, and I highly recommend you check that out because that harbor visual, my personal opinion, I like flying that more than I like flying the river visual in the DCA.
I may have to try that one maybe in a upcoming stream here pretty soon. Mike, I saw you do an approach that I thought was just amazing. I think maybe I saw CST do it one time as well. But the approach into boy, it's on the tip of my tongue. It was in the James Bond movie Moonraker, where they were up on Sugarloaf Mountain above Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, Santos Dumont.
Santos Dumont. Thank you. Yeah, I saw you do that one, man, and I'm like, oh, this is too freaking cool.
Yeah, the Santos Dumont approach is absolutely, in my personal opinion, the more challenging approach that I've flown. And I've flown some pretty I've done the circle to land into Innsbruck. I've done the harbor visual, the river visual. I've done the landing into Princess Juliana down in the Virgin Islands. But Santos Dumont, that procedure turn onto a 4,500 foot runway is the fact that commercial aviation flies there is just incredible in and of itself. But the runway is 4,500 feet. You know, like taking off out of there, I had to do I think I did a flaps 15 or a flaps 25 departure out of that airport. You know, where you have to have in the 737 unit flaps 25 at like 120 knots. You're taking off with full toga, like full power. So I mean, you basically you come around, you turn, you pass the statue, you know, and you're turning over the downtown and you're turning over the water, and then as soon as you bank out, man, the runway, you're minimums, you know. So and you have to get it down on the numbers. If you are not on the numbers, it's go around no matter what. So obviously, Gol flies the 737 in there. Latam flies the 319 there, so it's a cool airport. I definitely recommend giving that a shot. It's a lot of fun. Activision Flight says, who's the guy in green? Activision, that is Mr. EJ Davis with the VATSIM Caribbean division, one of the partners of the channels. You see the VATSIM Caribbean division logo down on the bottom right hand side every once in a while. Actually, one of my first partners ever. And it sucks that I can't do more with the VATSIM Caribbean division because of my work schedule. I wish I could fly across the land tomorrow. I was really looking forward to trying it, but I work tomorrow night, so I got to sleep during the event time. So, but yes, that is one of the reps from the VETSIM Caribbean. What is your technical title again? Because you're not the vice president anymore. You're the director of...
So I'm the assistant vice president of the Americas and then division director of the Caribbean, but
Gotcha.
I'm more known for my division director role. So
he said you look like Edson from Parallel 42.
I don't know who that is. I'm gonna have to go look that up.
I was like, okay. Mo Charlie, hope you're doing well. Appreciate you stopping in. Welcome. Mo Charlie also says the Commonwealth of Dominica. Yes, so for the TDPD, yes. Wally says Paro Bhutan. I think that's an overrated approach as well. So many people want me to do that, and I'm like, dude, there are so many streamers that have done that. It's just, I get it's a challenging approach, but believe it or not, Jack, there are some pretty challenging approaches up into Japan as well. I will say there are some beautiful visual approaches you can fly into, you know. But that's the beauty of flight sim, man. You know, in my personal opinion, is being able to visit these places that I'd probably never be able to visit in my entire lifetime, right?
Exactly.
You know, and if you wanna get down and dirty into the OG, like old school challenging approaches, Jack, you got to do the checkered board visual into Kai Tak, the old Hong Kong airport.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one, but
it's a freeware add-on scenery within the sim. So you have VHHH, which is the new Hong Kong International Airport that is being used to this day, and then you have VHHX is the ICAO for that airport, and it's called the checkerboard visual. Dude, look up some YouTube videos. You see some heavy jets doing it. It's insane.
Yeah, that's Victor Hotel X-ray.
Correct.
Okay. I just wrote that down.
What's up, CFI?
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, the real world CRJ pilot himself is in the chat.
That's what they tell me.
Were you flying today, or are you flying yesterday?
Yesterday. Yeah, I did 4 yesterday.
Nice. CFI, tell us, real world or otherwise, what are some of your favorite airports and scenery to take a look at?
I don't get to go to too many cool places, but LaGuardia and DCA are the cool ones on those approaches we do. Those ones are tricky.
Oh, the stadium visual in the LaGuardia. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I forget what that was called. Yeah, stadium. Yeah, that one's pretty fun. I've done that one once, and my company is captain only for DCA, the visual at least, so I haven't done that one. But just being on that one at nighttime is like, I don't know how this is legal, but it's pretty cool.
Hey, CFI and DCA, of course, is always one of your favorites. In the news this week, too, in the real world, they're thinking about totally banning the helicopter traffic around DCA. As you are a real world pilot and have seen some of that, what do you think about that?
Yeah, until that accident happened, I never knew they even had helicopters there. We never, like everyone I fly with, and myself included, we never try to accept the 3.3, the swap to 3.3, because the 900 really just can't do it with the weight usually that we're at. But for other reasons, we're already set up for runway one. Like, why make it more difficult? So, but yeah, I never knew they even had the helicopters there. So hopefully they can somewhat mitigate. If they're going to let the helicopters through, then no swapping to 3.3, and if there's someone swapping to 3.3, then no helicopters or something like that.
Well, surprisingly, CFI, the NTSB has actually already made preliminary recommendations for the FAA to make changes. And I believe, if I remember correctly from the preliminary report that they put out, they stated that helicopter sector that's supposed to be flown, I think at like 200 or 300 feet, is going to be banned when runways 15 and runway 33 are being used for departure and arrival.
Yeah, that's just a smart idea.
They're going to fly it. They're going to hopefully find an alternate routing for those helicopters. But they're also taking a look into the traffic congestion at DCA alone when it comes to arriving and departing aircrafts. But they've already made their initial recommendation to, I believe it's called the helicopter sector 4 or something like that is what it's supposed to be, or whatever, over the Potomac River. But when runways 15 and 33 are in use, they want that sector completely closed down.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
As well they should. I think they should totally get rid of that. It's just too congested. I want to say hello to Charlie 31, my good buddy Charlie 31. Now, the cool thing about Charlie 31, let me tell you, is he in real life is one of the grounds tarmac, manager, the whole airport out at Denver International. And I did put a link to his channel up, guys. If you go over and give him a sub and check out some of his videos, as I was telling you earlier, he does everything in virtual reality, everything VR. And so much fun to watch that and see how he does it. And he's got some pretty special features within that VR cockpit as well. So check out at Gate 3, I'm sorry, like I said, I think it's been a tiring week. At Gate C3. I used to be a professional pronunciator and told people don't try this at home. But Charlie 31, and I'd be real curious to know what if he has any more insight. Did you guys hear what happened at Denver International yesterday?
Yeah, I saw that American. It was an American. What? It was a 7-3 that caught fire after they had an issue in flight. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a 737-800. They reported they were on the way from Colorado Springs to Dallas, and they diverted to Denver because the pilots had reported a vibration in that right-hand engine. And they got down, and they came all the way to the gate, and that right engine caught on fire. And this is all over the news. So if you want to look it up, you can definitely take a look at it. But man, it's just crazy. It seems, some of the things going on.
Yeah.
Airlines these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but at the end, my opinion, I mean, ever since the PSA helicopter crash in DCA, I think the aviation industry has been overly scrutinized by the media. I mean, I saw something about a 717 that had smoke in the cabin that had to be evacuated at Atlanta earlier this year as well. And I'm like, they're making it seem like this is a, DEFCON 4 emergency with a 717 having smoke in the cabin. It's a 717. The aircraft is probably 30 years old. It's going to happen. It's a man-made machine. But I think it's just being overly scrutinized by the media, and that's why people are so concerned with travel. And obviously with a 7.3 engine catching fire, I mean, what can you do, man? I mean, it happened.
I don't think it's overly scrutinized. I think what is happening is that up until last year, for example, if in Denver a plane's engine caught fire, it was only a local news. It happened in Denver.
Yeah.
And people in Denver was preview to that, to that news, and that's it. What's happening today, because of our recent incident, most notably the one in Washington, is now it's every little incident that happens, whether it's GA or airliner, it's a national news, right?
Am I
Everybody
using
hears
the wrong
about
word? I think scrutinize is the wrong word.
Yeah, I don't think it's scrutinized. I just think
it's being
that
overly...
instead of being a local news nowadays, if something happens over here, for example, in OKC, Will Rogers, it's not just broadcast on the local networks. It's broadcast everywhere now, all over the US and even overseas, right? So up until last year, you didn't see that. We had numerous aviation incidents that happen every single freaking day, whether it's a little GA or an ultralight, whatever. It just happens, right? You just never heard about it because it was not in your immediate area.
Yeah,
But
I think
now
it's
every time a fly falls out of the sky, it's got to be national news. That's really what's happening. So, yeah.
I think it's a combo of things.
Go ahead,
You
EJ.
got, you got that. Because I know what you mean. Like it is just being over broadcast now, and that's why people are so freaked out about 737s. And I hate hearing that in airports because they don't even really understand what happened. It's just one thing happened with the 737, and then now everybody thinks the 737s are the worst thing ever. But in reality, despite all of what the news broadcast, still probably the safest plane that's out there. But I think it's the combination of that effect with just really bad things happening all at one time. You had Reagan and that plane in Philly, like I think that was the next day or something.
Yeah.
And then the Delta plane flipping over. That's just too much happening at one time. Had these things been spaced out, maybe they have time to disappear and come back. But now 3 major events. Oh yeah, the news is gonna take that and gang up on a string of bad accidents.
Yeah. I think I'm using wrong grammar here. I think scrutinize is the wrong word. How am I trying to say this? Mark said something. I think it's just being
I think it's just, national news, but then also the fact that we're coming off the downslope of COVID, where a lot of pilots weren't flying, planes sit up for a while. This was kind of predicted to a certain degree that something catastrophic could or maybe would happen. And I think we're just living that prediction in reality right now.
Yeah.
And with media outlets just, looking for articles, looking for stories, these
Yeah.
unfortunate events all just happen at the same time, but just spark national interest.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's sensationalism. There's an
Yeah.
element of that in there. I do think that there are probably more things happening right now, but there's also a lot of that sensationalism element thrown in there because I've been a member of the media for a lot of years, and I can tell you that definitely falls into play. I've noticed Lotto just dropped in. Fly with
Mr.
Lotto.
Lotto.
guys.
Ladies
you
and
doing?
gentlemen, the
I wanted
legend
to
Fly
come
with
in and
Lotto
say
himself.
hello. I saw you guys on here, but I was working with some stuff. I was really, I know you guys were talking a little bit about 2024. Really was happy about like trying to get in on that a little bit because I've been actually jumping and doing some recordings on 2024. And it looks like right now when I came in, my apologies, I had my YouTube down when I was watching you guys, but you were talking about real life events, right? And the only thing I can tell you, I had a one-on-one with my division lead at my job, right? And he goes, "Hey, we finish everything," and he goes, "Now tell me," because he knows I love airplanes. I'm all about airplanes, right? With my social media and of course Flight Sim. And he goes, "What's going on with all these planes crashing?" And it's like people that just don't have any clue what's going on. They only, see something on the news, and it's like, have you seen that train tickets have gone up like in the U.S. like
Wow.
a massive percentage, right? A massive percentage. That means because people are afraid to fly, and I'm seeing that out of like everybody, and I'm like, no, like think about it, like somebody just like I had a coworker of mine just crashed his car not even a few days ago. It's like that happens every 5 minutes, but nobody makes it like, oh my god, let's stop driving, right? But an airplane crashes or Azerbaijan, we had a lot of incidents as
Oh yeah, that
CJ
Embraer. I
mentioned
remember
earlier.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like that's the thing is like nobody talked about Azerbaijan. That was basically shut down, shut down, right? So like nobody communicated that. It was like, oh, plane crash, and that's all we heard about it instead of looking more into that. But of course, it didn't happen here. But once the 3 incidents happen in the U.S. and Canada, that's when it becomes a big thing. The media gets involved. Once the media gets involved, it becomes this. Hey, we need to get some news out there, to keep people looking into it. I don't know. I'll fly tomorrow if somebody says let's go. We're going
Yeah,
somewhere.
right, bro. I'm
more than
there.
100.
I'm there,
Hey,
dude.
oh.
Just
I can't wait. I'll
I
be
mean,
out there outside the
The
window.
media
looking
just
at
you got to look at the media like any other people that's doing any type of content, right? They're gonna look for the clicks. They're gonna look for the views, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
if the thing that's out is reporting on a damn Cessna that barely landed on a street, then that's what they're gonna report
Yeah.
because that's gonna get them the views. So that's all it's all about. They don't care whether it's stupid news or good news or. I can tell you right now, it's not affecting Boeing one bit. I don't know if you guys look at sales numbers, but sales numbers last month alone increased 60%. Boeing.
Yeah.
So it's not
Well,
affecting them at all.
And to be quite honest with
So-
you, it never will
Yeah.
because Boeing's name has been such a reputable name for so long. Now, granted, they had some speed bumps. Some were a lot bigger than the others, but it's like it's
Well,
not
yeah,
like
that
it was back in the day.
but you know about the speed. You know about the speed bump with Boeing because Boeing is an American company.
Right.
You're never going to hear about speed bumps with Airbus because Airbus is not going to go and wash their laundry in the United States, right? They might have aircraft that don't pass inspections. They might have stuff
Yeah.
going on that you're never going to hear about because
Right.
that's not what's hot. But right now, everybody wants to talk about Boeing because the damn emergency fucking door flew off the damn plane or whatever because of a stupid maintainer, right? That wasn't a freaking airplane defect. It was an idiot that didn't do their job right. That forgot to either torque the bolts or put the bolts in, whatever it was. And obviously, that door is going to come off, right? It's not a Boeing issue; it's a maintainer issue. Because I mean that's maintainers, right? I did that a long time, right?
Yeah.
26 years
Yeah.
of it.
And
It's there's a lot of steps that are involved with aircraft repair, right? You have your regular maintainer, you got your collateral duty inspectors, you got quality assurance, you got different MIMs and manuals and stuff that you need to follow, and you got to cross all the T's, dot all the I's, because at the end of the day, if you don't, people fucking die. right?
Right.
So you go to jail, right? So that's what it's all about. So when you have people that, I think in a way, in the long term, and Matt is probably, since he's in the same field, has probably heard this before. What it is you don't have an accident in a long, long time, people get complacent, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you go on an autopilot and you get complacent, you miss a step, you go over something, you think you got everything right, but you didn't, or you might say, "Oh, that's not very important. I'll get to that in a minute," and you forget about it, and that's how mishaps happen, right? So, um, yeah, I think complacency is huge, especially in the
Well,
aviation field. Whenever you go on a streak of good times, right? Whenever nothing happens, everything is smooth. The planes are coming out of the pointy end of an aircraft carrier. They're coming back without bombs, and you're like, yeah, we're fucking, you know,
yeah.
freaking slapping
Yeah.
hands and kissing babies and shit. We're doing it, right? And then all of a sudden, just one thing happens, and it's one after the other one, right? Boom, 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 boom. Mishap after mishap after mishap. Might not be as bad as the other, but a mishap is a mishap. Whether it's, hey, this switch just fell on top of the pilot adds and cracked his head open. It's a mishap, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be a mishap. Doesn't have to be a crash and involve dead people, right?
Right.
A mishap is a mishap, right?
Yeah.
So and it just, when it happens, they just keep on going, right? Because now all that complacency from all your past months, it's all catching up to you, right? So that's how it goes. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
If I could add to that as
Go
well
ahead.
with the complacency, we flew out yesterday, and I don't know if you guys in the East US and Canada, but it was beautiful. Like 30-mile viz, light
One
wind
buck.
was 10 knots, it was just gorgeous. And we briefed threats in my company at the end of our takeoff or our end of our departure briefing, and we just said it's too nice. Like, let's not get complacent. It's one of the things where it's too nice, it's too easy. Whereas those IFR days, you'll be focused so much that I find myself making more mistakes in the clear blue days than on the IFR days when you're just on your game. And both people make mistakes and we catch each other, and that's why there's two of us. But yeah, we'll brief that the complacency part.
Yeah.
You get to the part two as even as a pilot or as a maintainer, where you rely too much on equipment, right? You might rely too much on your autopilot because you have never seen it failed, so you swear by it, and next thing you know, your autopilot might act a fool, and you trust it so much that you don't pay attention. I mean, it could be a variety of things, right? Um, you always got to double check stuff, and like I said, Matt probably deal with that a lot more than I do, but you double and triple check your numbers and all that good stuff, right? You can't just rely on a piece of equipment. You got to, and in the aviation world, when it comes to a cockpit, there is always that, four eyes looking at stuff, right? You always have two people inside that plane. Sometimes, depending on the plane, you got three people, right? So they're always checking over each other's stuff, right? And that's part of the process. But the thing is, like I said, the biggest thing in aviation, in my past experience, has always been complacency. Complacency is like the number one thing that's gonna butt you in the butt. If you allow yourself to get complacent because everything is smooth and everything is working out right, it's gonna catch up to you and it's gonna hurt.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why the NTSB and the FAA are taking this to a whole nother level of, we need to take action as soon as possible to avoid this from happening, because we saw in earlier years, in the earlier decades, in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, where we had human error as a huge reason why loss of life was the way it was in the aviation industry. For example, you had American 191, that DC-10 that took off out of Chicago O'Hare, and the engine blew off the left-hand side, and that had to do with maintenance errors, because the airlines didn't want to spend so much money based off of the recommended procedures to take the engine off of the wing for maintenance. And they went through a loophole to save some man hours and money. And, over 200 people died in that accident. And then throughout investigation, after the fleet was grounded by the U.S., that an additional 40 planes were found with the same issue, because airlines talk to airlines about maintenance procedures and say, hey, you guys want to save some bucks on this? This is how we've been doing it. We haven't had an issue, until they have the issue, It's the same thing with that Max 9 with the door blowing off. It was the same thing with that Alaska MD-80 that nosedived into the Pacific Ocean off the coast of LA in the 80s and 90s, right? It all has to do with, again, complacency, like CST was saying, and airlines getting complacent, saying, hey, we can do it an easier way. We'll save some money. We can make some more revenue. Cool.
To
until,
that point,
go ahead.
it's almost always human error, right? A catastrophic malfunction of the aircraft is the rarest thing you can ever see. It happens. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. When I say catastrophic, I mean something that goes wrong with the aircraft that makes that aircraft go into the ground and kill everybody on board, right? Catastrophic, right? That is the rarest thing you will ever see. 9 times out of 10, it's always human error. It's always either the crew, the maintainers, something that went on with the aircraft, a repair that they didn't do right that causes the issue. 9 times out of 10. And then you have that one-off, oh, hey, Starship just launched and it blew up in the air. Okay,
Right.
well, that's a catastrophic failure. When have you seen, when was the last time you actually seen a catastrophic failure of an aircraft?
Yeah.
I bet we cannot, not one of us can think of one because it rarely
the
happens.
the one with US Air, right? Birds basically hitting it, right? There was lives that were, but even if you look at Jeju Air, kind of the same thing that happened where on final, we don't have the reports just yet, right? But
Yeah.
on final, birds strike again. I think, in my opinion, just me watching on the outside and going, well, why did they make a left turn to go around and then they had to come back right away because I think they realized can that be human error as well, right? Can that be the part where a pilot thought, you know what, we have to go around. We have an issue with the airplane. Let's make sure we can we revive the airplane? Can we be okay? But what if they continue to on that approach, right? Could that have been something where we don't talk about it, where all those people lost their lives, right? And it belly lands and then crashes into a wall. So human error is always a part of something like this, and you're 100% right with that, CST.
Yeah, you've got to figure too. Going back, look at United 232 from
Yeah.
Denver to Chicago when it went down. Captain Al Haynes, don't remember the co-pilot's name right off the top of my head, but they had to try to steer that aircraft to a landing in Sioux Falls, Iowa, and that was a major catastrophic failure of all the hydraulics, probably from an engine blade. One of the turbine blades that had broken and fallen off or got shot off. But I think it all falls back to what CST is saying. And it's maintenance. It's human error. It's not being able to
Again,
the-
and you mentioned that being a catastrophic failure, but again, what caused that failure?
exactly.
Right? Because those fan blades get removed, inspected, and NDI'd on a time interval, right? So whenever you do that inspection, you're supposed to identify stress fractures, prone areas, and all the good stuff. And if you see that, then you replace the blades, right? But if they pass the inspection, or somebody misses it, it goes back into the plane, and then next thing you know, it's shooting off the damn freaking cowlings. It's punching holes through the fuselage, and it's cutting through hydraulic lines. And it's a catastrophic failure. Well, is it? It's all caused by human factors, right?
Yep.
Like I said, when was the last time we seen a plane just magically blow up in the air? It doesn't happen, right? It hasn't happened at least in a long time.
Well, if it does,
Could it happen? It could. It could, right? But at the end of the day, that's why they do inspections and all this stuff, because at the end of the day, a lot of the times, even when that happens, it's due to the human hand, right? Somebody that put their hand on something, they either said it's good and it wasn't, or they didn't do it right and something happens, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's always a human factor, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of these accidents, preventable or not, I'm not an inspector and expert in mishaps and all that. 'Cause I've done the farthest I've gone with mishap is I've done cleanups some mishaps, and that's not some shit you want to go do. But yeah, it's investigation wise, I'm not the guy, right? So I can only tell you opinion. And you know what I say about opinions.
Yeah, and I'm the
like
same way.
puddles, everybody's got one. So
The amount of times that I've been asked is like, what's your opinion on this, that, and the third? And my immediate response is I'm waiting for the NTSB. Once I hear from them, then I will give you an opinion. However, ladies and gentlemen, I think everybody in both of our chats, Jack, me, everybody in this chat, all of our viewers and all that kind of stuff, I think everyone here knows that aviation, commercial aviation, is still the safest way to travel. If you
Indeed.
guys,
Indeed.
I think everybody here would jump on a plane right now if they could. You know, I would. I have no hesitation to get on an aircraft.
Yep.
You know, and just keep in mind, when you sign the dotted line, you purchase that ticket. Read the disclosures that the airline that the airline sends to you when you buy that ticket, because this is all this stuff. This is stuff that is mentioned because you're getting into a man-made machine that's getting propelled to 35,000 feet. So
Hey, don't read it, because if you read it, you're not going to want to fly.
But you
Well,
have
I've got 2 flights. I've got 2 flights booked right now, and I'm looking forward to them. Last question of the night, guys. We're just a little past the 2-hour point, and we can maybe touch on this and then give everybody a close out there. Video cards. Let's talk about that for a minute. Have any of you tried the new 5000 series video card yet? I'll just tell you right now, my 4070 Super is working fine. I see no reason to have to update it. I've seen where these video cards are getting scalped and sold for just so much more than the manufacturer's suggested retail price. It's just reprehensible. I hate this about the gaming community, and well, maybe not the gaming community itself, but the people who take advantage of the gaming community. It's just like scalping concert tickets in the same way. They buy up these things, they mark up the prices, and yet people still buy them. And I absolutely hate that about that. So once again, this is a thing where I'll drive it till the wheels fall off and my software won't work on it anymore. What do you think, EJ? Why don't you start us out? What do you think about this?
Well, it might be best for somebody to start out who's already tried it. I myself have a 4090. I just bought it this year, and my computer, up until that came out, has the state of the art everything. So I am in no way, shape, or form even thinking about what the 50 series will do performance wise. I'm very happy with where I am, and as long as I continue to have good performance out of it, just like with FS 2020. I think I'll be one of the late adopters to the 50 crew, just as I am with 2024. But you guys who have tried it already, I'd love to hear how that's gone for you. I haven't even watched a video to see what things it does for MSFS.
I haven't either. Mark, what about you?
Nope. For me, I keep to the even number cards myself personally. I go every other graphics card. So since I started gaming and graphics cards came out, I started with the 2080 Ti, which I think is still the best, hands down, out there. The best graphic cards out there. But no interest in getting the 50,000 series.
Okay. Let's see. Lotto, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, so there has been a few YouTubers that have done some tests to see in 4K a little bit, maybe about, I know one Sim Hanger, if I'm not mistaken. If you guys are familiar with him, he did one to see a 18% increase. Right, I didn't think, I'm like, oh my god, but then when he went to 2K 4090, and this is just him flying the same airplane in New York City, 4090 literally did just as good. When it came to just TAA, right? No frame gen. We're looking at 50 to 60 FPS, just like the 5090. The 5090 or even the 50 series, right? Are the DLSS 4 is what something that a lot of people wanted to take advantage of, and that's where some games are actually able to run. That DLSS 4 running at times 4. Now a game that was running normally 150 FPS now is running 500 or 400 FPS. And in Flight Sim, we don't need that, right? So, but the artifacts that it would give you in the sim, because they've tried times 3 and times 4, and just massive artifacts, just like a frame gen mod does to the 20 or the 30 series cards, right? I have a 4090. I bought a 4090 a month and a half prior, and I have to be more than happy to get a full 9800 X3D, one of the most expensive CPUs now, and a 4090 with 64 gigs of RAM to be able to get it for $3,000. Now, if I did it just months prior to when I bought it, I bought it in December. If I would have done this in October, that 4090 would have cost me $2,000, right? And I'm glad I did it when I did it because it's not that much of, I just bought a brand new PC for $3,000. Literally, like out of pocket was 3K. So it's a there was some issues with Micro Center, and they gave me a little bit more of a discount, which was very helpful. If we look at the PC alone without any other protection, I know CST is going to be mad at me because I always get the protection. He's like, don't get it, right? But I would have walked out of that place with $2,700. So think about it: to get a 4090 9800 X3D, you're not going to find that now with a 5090. And just go search 50 series. Just go Google it. Everything's like, is it a scam? Is it this, right? Because they are finding that it's not as good. Maybe it's a good thing that we bought our 4090s or 4070s in your case, right? And are able to sim, because there's things like lossless scaling that can help us, right? I ran lossless scaling with frame gen mod on. I was in New York, full traffic, and I'm like, what in the world? I'm getting 130 FPS, 140, and the artifacting wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't even that bad times two. So it was just we have so many things that the community comes out with that can help out. So even if you don't have, but I feel like if you have like a very cheap card and you want to upgrade, why not? Why not go with the next best thing if you have the money? But you're right. You can't find them, or somebody's going to sell it for $2,200 when it should not be that. Especially when their competitors coming out with, I think it's a 9700. Don't know much about that other company, and they're
AMD.
selling it for five. Yeah, I'm sorry.
AMD.
AMD, yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? The 9700?
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
it
so.
is. It is. So like it's the equivalent of your 5070 Ti or 5070, and they're selling it for way cheaper. And even their biggest one, they're gonna probably sell it for way cheaper. And a lot of the times, like, yeah, okay, for 20% more FPS or 10% more FPS is $2,000 worth on a GPU. I don't think so, and I see that now because I do not see any difference, and I mean this. I had a 3070 Ti with an i7, and I don't see any difference when I had FrameGen mod running on that. I was running FrameGen mod 120, my 4090 120, right? In any place, like, so what did I do? I just basically just upgraded to 64 and a better CPU, but in the end, everything was working just fine, even with my 3070 Ti. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
making it work, but that's all I have on that.
All right. Very good. CST, what do you think?
I'm with Mark on this. You always gotta stay one generation behind. You never get the latest and greatest, especially when it comes to GPUs. Because we all know it's kind of like, getting into 2024 week one. You don't. It's gonna be full of bugs, issues, and all that good stuff, right? So you always the reason why I do have a 4090 in the 4090 here is because that's what I built my PC, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with the 4090. Kind of like what he said, what Lado was saying is like, hey, look, if you build a new computer and you want to go all out, you got the money and you don't care, then get yourself a 5090, right? Get the latest and greatest. But if you have a 4070, or it'd be just silly to go out and get a 5070 because you're not going to gain anything, to be quite honest with you. Going from a 4090 to a 5090, I'm not going to gain absolutely nothing. Zero. If anything, I'm just going to gain the bill, right? So it's not worth it. So what I mean by staying one generation behind is I will probably be one of those 6090 type of guy, not the 5090, if you know what I mean. So I'll jump from a 4090 to a 6090, but I'm pretty sure that by that time I'll probably have a whole new build as well, because usually what I do is I look at the 60, when I will look at the 6090, I'm gonna be like, well, there's a new motherboard, and now we got DDR6, and now we got this, and now we got that. So I'm gonna want to upgrade everything anyway. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I did with my last rig. Right, one rig became a secondary PC, or at the time a streaming PC, until you come to the realization that you have a beast of a computer, and there's no reason to be running multiple PCs for streaming, because the computer I got handles that and more without any issues. So why do a multi-system setup? There's no reason for that. I mean, if you're running like a 30 series GPU and you're still like back in the i5 whatever days, and you're still running kind of like a low to medium rig, and you have a secondary PC sitting around, then yeah, you want to stream, then most definitely, get yourself a multi-system to stream, endo stream on one side and then gaming on the other, because that's gonna help you out. But if you have 4090s and 64 megabytes of memories and you know top level type stuff, there's no reason to running multiple PCs. The only thing you're gonna get is the room is gonna get hot. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
no kidding, man.
CST, I wanted to tell you too, kudos on that repair video that you did the other day on repairing the WindWing FCU. I had the same problem, but I've had it twice now, and I had to go a little bit different approach. But because the first time, the magnet, that little silver magnet that's in the end of the ferrule there, that
Yep.
the nut and the boulder underneath that magnet had come out and was scattered somewhere in there, and I had to completely take it apart to be able to find it and to get everything back in and screwed together. Now, I'm a technician. I've got a workbench like yours, so it wasn't too difficult for me. And then I had another issue to where I didn't realize you could pop the end off
Yeah.
of the thing there, and the Allen screw that's in there was spinning around inside, so I literally drilled a little hole in the side and dropped some super glue down in there to seal that up, and that's fixed my problem. It's interesting that it seems like everybody's having that one knob problem, but I wanted to comment that you've got a great video on how to repair that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go above and beyond, one thing to do if you are forced to do the repair, I would invest in a little bit of Loctite, and just put a little drop of Loctite on the end of the Allen screw, and that thing will never come out again.
Yeah,
So
and you can
really
get
good.
that at any hardware store.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Good video, Mike. The 5000 series cards. What do you think?
I'm kind of on the same bench as everybody else. I kind of stay a generation behind when the new gen comes out, because I unfortunately fell victim to a scalper when I was in the market for a 30 series card. And unfortunately, this has been an issue since, correct me if I'm wrong, since the 1080 Ti was announced. The 1080 Ti, in my opinion, was the graphics card that broke the market. Because everybody and their mother wanted a 1080 Ti. That was the best of the best available. And then all of a sudden, people started seeing is like, we can make some money with this. And that's when people started buying them in bulk and upscaling them 40, 50, 60, even 75+% of retail market. So I always stay a generation behind. I moved from a Radeon RX 480, which is a 4 gigabyte graphics card. When I was ignorant to computer knowledge, I thought that was a beast of a graphics card. And then I load up FSX at ultra graphics and I'm getting 15 frames a second. I'm like, I just spent $2,000 on this computer. What the hell? Yeah. See, Mark knows what I'm talking about. But then I started doing my research and I was like, okay, now I understand optimization. So I went from that card to a 2060 Super to a 3060 Super to now a 4070. I always stay behind because scalpers, no matter what happens, as soon as I see that Nvidia is coming out with their next series of graphics card and the next number is there, I'm just like, cool. This is a pre-release announcement for me for when I can buy this card in a year and a half when it's not $2,500 in price. Because for me, it's just, and how in the hell Nvidia has not found a way to keep scalpers the fuck out of the market. It blows my mind. This is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. How are you allowing people to buy your cards in bulk and then upsell them 50%? Your 5090 is not worth $2,500. I'm sorry. You're not making the money back no matter what. So when it comes down to it, that's my opinion. I always stay a generation behind. Always. I probably won't invest in a 50 series cards until the 60s are announced. For me. And I have a 4070 right now. I didn't buy my 4070 until December of last year. I'm sorry, no, it was December of 23. I bought the 4070, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna sit here and waste my money on something where the card that I spent $600 on is doing an incredible job, even in 1440p resolution with OBS running in the background and all the tabs that I have to have open to run the simulator with Volanta tracking my flight and all the excess stuff that a flight simmer, a hardcore flight simmer likes to have open while they're simming. Runs fine. I'm still 70, 65, 70, 80 frames a second as some of the most dense areas of the world, New York. And now sometimes it can drop down into the 40s and 50s. And when your eye is trained to 80, 90 frames a second, you get to 40s and you're like, this looks like shit. But to someone that's running a 10 or 20 series card, 40, 50 is godsend to them, right? So it's all about your rig. So for me, I probably won't invest in a 50 series until it's necessary. A 4070 is running beautifully. I've got frame generation natively with this card. I've got 12 gigs of VRAM. And until the software that we're running requires more of my system, I probably will not upgrade until it's necessary. The next upgrade I'm doing on my computer is a case. I am replacing the case that I have now. I had to completely take the top of my computer case off today because my computer kept shutting down because it was getting too hot. And then I'm like, what the hell? I just had this in for repairs for the same issue. I've always had heating issues with this computer. So I was, and the technician that was working with my computer when I brought it in recently said, your computer out of the 7 computers I had running in that room was hands down the hottest by like 15 degrees. So I took the top off of my computer to let my AI cooler get a little bit more area to exhaust it, right? And my temps dropped 20 degrees. So PC case is getting replaced in the near future. So I have to completely rebuild my computer in the near future. So, but other than that, I mean, I think the hype around the 50 series cards is unnecessary. And what it's going to do is those that are looking to upgrade, it's going to drop the prices of your 4090s. Go get a 4090. There's going to be no difference between a 4090 and a 5070, 5080. There's going to be zero difference. Go get a 4090.
It's like I said earlier. I'm going to drive mine till the wheels fall off, and I have to get a new one. And that's exactly.
And at the end of the day, all you're paying for is the flex.
Yeah,
that's all you're doing is you're paying. You're paying. It's like, for example, it's like if you're buying a $75,000 BMW M3 when you could have bought a $40,000 338, right? You know, it's the same thing with a different engine in it. Yeah, will it go faster? Cool. Has it got a little bit better technology in it? Sure. But at the end of the day, I still got a BMW. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you're paying to have the name. It's like when people ask me, what are the specs of your computer? Oh, I got a 5090.
Stop being dumb. Buy a Tesla.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let me break it down for the new generation. It's like going from the iPhone 12 to the iPhone 14. What changed? The camera.
Not a goddamn thing, bro. I swear, bro.
Oh, and that's the thing, though. You always got your little geeks, right? Jamie, Captain Biles in my Discord. You guys know him.
Yeah.
He's a computer geek. He's got to have it. He's gonna have it. He's gonna buy the 5090. That's just the way it is, right? And not only that, he only uses Founder Edition. So he's got the 4090 now. He had obviously the 3090 before, then 4090. Now he's trying to get this 5090, but they're nowhere to be found. And if he does find them, they're way overpriced. So, but he's trying to get it. But yeah, Tesla guys. Why would you want to buy a Nazi car anyway? Come on, dude.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Now we've heard it.
We've got it's that time of the podcast now, Jack.
Yeah, I think so. I'm CFI, are you still there? Are you still there?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. What are you using and what do you think about, and then we'll go around the horn and say goodnight.
Yeah, keep it short and sweet. I mean, I didn't remember the 5080 was coming out till my buddy showed me a picture of him buying one. So I haven't tried it. I've used a 4080, and I'm with Mark and CST. I'll do every evens, and I'll just sell my current computer and use that money to build my new one.
Yeah.
But I have heard that the 50 series the 90s having problems with the 12 volt connector again. That's catching fire on a lot of people. So maybe stay away from the new NVIDIA releases regardless for a bit. But
yeah,
that's Same thing, probably does it faster and better, but it's whatever. To me,
Yeah.
2020 is perfect, and it runs fine. And I used to do FSX at 20 frames, 12 frames, and so if I can
Yeah,
have
right.
55, whatever, it's fine for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I'll,
sure.
I'll tell you both chats, guys. I'll tell you when it comes to computer hardware, if you were just now learning about computer hardware and doing your research on different parts and software and hardware, so on and so forth, you are always, always, always going to want to do your research on the validity of the product, because don't get scalped when you're paying $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for a 2060 when it's really a $200 card, right? And make sure you are well versed in being able to put that equipment into your computer, because if you do it wrong without a warranty and you mess something up, that is just money that is just gone dead. Just take your wallet and throw it into the garbage disposal. That's because that's what you're doing with it. Make sure you guys are doing your research on these products and making sure that you know the issues that people have had and what you're spending your money on. But like I said, 50, 70, 80, 90, so on and so forth. Hell, it could be a 5100 for all I give a damn. They're out, which means the prices of the 40, 70s, 80s, and 90s are going to start dropping pretty significantly, and you can get a really good graphics card for a relatively cheap price. I saw someone in my chat said, to anyone who has a 5090, I immediately know you aren't good with money.
I'm gonna try to help somebody out. I got two 3060 in the closet, 1400 a piece. DM me.
1400 a piece, he said.
Yeah. Checks in the mail, CST. I emailed that yesterday. Yeah. CST, speaking of which, what you got coming up? What's going on in your world? And what's happening with CST Gaming? And we'll wrap her up for tonight.
The usual, man. Nothing new, really. The flight streaming. I've been trying to get back into some other gaming, but like the other day I was watching Blue Games race F1 cars, and I really got the hitch. But
oh man, me too, bro.
I hang out with a bunch of losers, flight simmers, so nobody wants to race.
Hey, bro, I've got EA Platinum. I can play all the F1 games. I've got my steering wheels over there,
dude.
Bro.
I love when we talk about racing.
I have the F1 games installed on my computer. I don't want to do it.
Hey, let's race, dude. Oh, okay. And then he's like,
time and day.
I'm sorry, man. I was sleeping or I was working
Homie,
or
Brissy,
whatever, dude.
I work graveyard. I work
You know
nights.
what? Life sucks, and then you die. Enjoy it.
This fucking guy.
Anyways, no, the usual thing. Tomorrow, my plan is tomorrow we got the event, right? There's an event tomorrow, isn't it?
Cross
the land.
Yeah.
Cross the land. My plan is to stream some plane spotting. That's my plan. I enjoy the hell out of plane spotting. I don't know why.
It's a lot of fun.
I don't know yet if I'm gonna do it in 2024 or 2020 yet. Probably 2024. We'll see, because I get a lot better performance 2024, and I got the AIG down pat too on 2024. I got AIG NFS LTL working pretty damn good.
No shit, AIG is working in 24 now.
Yeah. You just gotta install the beta version of 2024.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. CSG, I want to get some tips and how-tos on AIG, NFSTL, MOUSE from you first.
Elemental P.
Yeah.
We'll get that.
Thanks, buddy. EJ, man, I tell you, I'm looking forward to the next time we do some island flights and some of these new places. What you got going on, and what's happening in your world?
Well, there's always stuff happening in VATSIM, but I'm really excited for the event tomorrow. As I mentioned last time we did the CTO, that is my pet project. It's the project that VATSIM gives me and is like, this is your baby, take care of your baby. And the last one we did, it was the first one that was under my watch, and there was a lot of things that we were trying to iron out, and we didn't get it ironed out in time for that one, so we knew it wasn't going to work right, but we did the best we could. This one tomorrow, I am going to be by the computer the entire time watching every aspect of it, because we're hoping it goes right. And, for you guys to know, there's so much coordination that goes on into these things, from ATC all the way down in South America and Brazil, all the way up to Central America, the VAT USA America team, all the way up to Canada. Working with everybody's hours. it is not harmonious at all on the other side of this. You get a lot of people who are pissed off about what times they have to be on their computer. I had one team that I pretty much told them, you know what, you're not participating this year because you guys can't be on at the time we need you to be on. So we're just going to route around your airspace, and you'll see it when you look at these routes. There are airspaces that the routes avoid for that reason, because we just, we're working with what we have. So I'm hoping tomorrow goes well. I'm excited for it. I looked at our bookings and I see that it's almost 100% booked at this point. That's kind of scary for me too, because if God knows, if like a controller is not going to be there tomorrow, like Mexico Center or somebody who's really crucial to that in between, we'll have a lot of chaos. But I'm excited for it. I'm really hoping that we have a good turnout and everybody has fun, and CST is going to have a good spot to plane spot, and people don't like cancel midway through the flight because ATC is pissing them off. But we're really excited. I'm excited to cross the land tomorrow.
What time does it start?
First departures are, I think, at 2 p.m. in South America. Give me 1 second, I'll tell you.
Okay.
All right. We'll let you look that up there. Lotto, why don't you, while EJ's looking at that, and EJ, I'll come back to you here. But Lotto, what's going on in your world? What's happening with Fly with Lotto these days?
Nothing, man. Still doing my little thing, right? I got a little bit of a surprise. I'm actually looking at it as we speak, with a gentleman making a livery for Fly with Lotto. So I had somebody that created the livery, and we were just working on that the past week to kind of just see if I can create some of my own airplanes instead of airlines, right? My own,
Nice.
at Fly with Lotto airline, whatever, if you want to call it like that. But that's about it. Just still grinding, trying to do the best I can when it comes to just trying to post. I've slowed down a little bit with the A350 coming out. I really was in the air, like, am I going to buy it? Am I not? And I did get it. I know a lot of requests that people were asking. So a lot of videos were already done with the A350. Now just kind of just keep doing the same thing. And I've got a couple things that I'm about to start changing in my thing. And I've been really trying to do some live streams and really see if I can jump on that. But to be honest with you, with the time, I just don't have it. I literally got home from work at 8:30 at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the times when you have a long day, 12-hour, 13, 14-hour day at work, the last thing you want to do is just, do anything. You just want to go and relax. And my brain is mush most of the time when I come back from work. So I just want to relax. But that's about it. Just still doing my Instagram stuff, trying to grow my TikTok, trying to grow my YouTube, trying to grow all the platforms, right? And it's an up and down, right? It's the way it goes. When you get to a certain level, it just it stops, and it's like, how do I get back in this train? And that's what I'm looking through. But of course, I got to change my content, got to change what I'm doing, got to make more requests. Maybe people doing requests, maybe doing special liveries of people's, what they want. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what I'm focused on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here tonight. Glad you popped
Appreciate
in.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being able to hang out with us for a while and talk about all this
I'm
stuff.
hoping tomorrow, and I need to start really getting the opportunity, and if EJ can help me out a little bit, like, because I don't know how to plan these cross the lands or even cross the ponds. I don't know much about these because I never do them. I really want to take the time to like really start doing these because they're such massive events and everybody's on, and I really want to take that opportunity to like, okay, can I put 8 hours, 7 hours aside and just really focus on something like this and really do it? So I'm hoping I can have that opportunity because I'd love to do something like that tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. EJ, you got those times for us?
Yeah, South America and the VAT Brazil team, which I know they're a part of South America, but they're isolated in terms of their leadership. So South America and the Brazil team start at 1700 Zulu, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. Jamaica, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic start at 1800, which is 2 p.m. Zulu. And then Panama starts at 1930 Zulu, which is 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
You doing that off the top of your head, are you? Time conversion?
Yeah, the time conversion.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, thanks, EJ. Good to see you tonight, my friend. And I'll be in touch with you about us doing some more flying. I want to do that with you. Thanks for the help tonight, Major Mark. I tell you, first thing I just want to let you know, going to be praying for that family. That we were talking about off air earlier. And thanks for all you do for that and everything that you're having to deal with there. We'll just pray that the Lord gives them peace and blessings and can get them through this time. But what's going on in your world? What's happening with Major Mark? And need to see you streaming some more, brother.
Yeah, it's been lackluster on the streaming. We got some starting our preliminary work for World Flight coming up. Schedules and everything are starting to come forward. We should have a schedule hopefully by Expo, and we're gonna get started back up with World Flight, getting that all ramped up and ready to go. So working with the team, we may make an appearance here or there, but be on the lookout for what's coming up with World Flight.
Okay, well, let me know if I can ever be of any service, and we'll certainly promote it on the Captain Jack Flight Sim channel. Thanks for being here tonight, buddy. Good to see you. I'm glad you were able to hang out with us.
Oh yeah, maybe we get you out there and do a flight or two on World Flight.
I would love.
Maybe put you on the 350 and let you fly it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll have to fly with somebody who's going to teach me how to fly that baby. We'll
CST's a great instructor.
Nope, I would consider that a high honor one day. Thanks, Mike.
You know what was my instruction when I flew with CST?
Nope.
I just had to sit back.
Oh, okay.
That was the.
That was such a fun night, man.
Yeah,
They're dancing on camera at 2:30 in the morning.
It was, man. I gotta say, because I know I talked to you guys, but I enjoyed when, especially, and I never knew that you guys. Where do we go from here? And where we got that from, but it cracked me up even more. I was at work one day, and the next day after we talked, I'm like, oh my god, this is where you got this from. I just went back and had to just like remember watching that, and what a fun time it was. To be honest with you, you guys killed it, and you guys did a great job.
Yeah, you guys really did kill it. It was so much fun to watch. CFI, man, I tell you, I appreciate you dropping in here tonight. I know your flight schedule's kind of busy and everything going on, so I'm glad you had the time. What's going on in your world? What's happening with streaming? What's happening with CFI?
Yeah, nothing much. I'm back on reserve in a couple days, so I've been doing that, and then been starting streaming a bit. Flight Sim Gaming said I should start streaming, so I thought I'd do it, and I started doing that. So probably a couple streams on the way. Still testing the RJ, which is kind of a joke in itself right now, but I've been promised it is coming out. I keep saying that, but it is soon. That's what I've been told.
Oh, you lost my respect, dude. I don't believe you anymore.
That's it.
Unsubscribing.
I may have delayed it a bit because I got him some extra footage of stuff that was wrong, but I think they're going to be doing some stuff on FS Weekend actually this weekend. They're going to be showing.
What I told you guys. I told you guys that's what it was. Remember that day in the Discord I said, you know whose fault it is? It's Matt's fault because he keeps telling them what's wrong with the plane and he keeps delaying it. Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I'd rather a real world pilot delay that project than Aerosoft delay it for some bullshit reason.
I think it was supposed to be like out months ago, and I'm just me and other people just keep throwing stuff in there. But yeah, they needed some cabin stuff, so I got them some pictures and things. So, anyways, they're doing that, and that's pretty much it. I'm probably going live tomorrow night in my usual RJ, and that's about it for me.
All right, the thing that I love about SimCFI's streams, and he and I become real good friends. Really appreciate him. He's trained me a lot, really helped me improve my landings and some of the other features of being able to do this. And he just instructs so well, even during his streams, guys. I really encourage you to catch your SimCFI. Well, Mike will usually, as usual, let you have the last word and everything here, but I want to say thanks to CST Gaming, EJ Davis, Fly with Lotto, Major Mark, your SimCFI, and Mike, especially you, my partner in crime with this podcast. As we always say, we need to do it a little bit more often, but life in general and in work and everything keeps us going, everything else we're trying to do, but we will be back for another one. Captain Jack, of course, generally streams on a Monday and Wednesday evenings. Might even try to squeeze one or two in here and there over the weekends, but like I said, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm letting the former disc jockey in me come out a little bit. We're playing music during climb and cruise, and just really trying to rock the house, make it a good time in flight sim and rock and roll and radio show kind of thing. So we'll have some fun with that. We'll still do all the procedures and everything, but maybe introduce you guys to some older music, some newer music. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of it for me. I'm going to be out of town for another week after next week, the week of the 23rd. So won't even be in the sim at all during that time. But then we'll be back. But Mike, I tell you, I enjoy doing these things with you and the guys, and you guys are streamers premier, and just really do great work. And I was pondering the question earlier, and you and I will kind of wrap this up, but I was pondering the question earlier: are there getting to be too many flight streaming creators? Are there getting to be too many streamers? I just wondering. But you know what, you guys. And Al's, of course, Al's couldn't be here tonight. We'll hold a spot for him next time. But you guys are just the best. You know what you're doing. You're pro. Your presentation is amazing. And, I owe a lot of how I feel about this hobby and this way of life even to you guys. So hats off to you. And remember, Captain Jack loves your show. I'll see you in the next one. And Mike, why don't you take it away?
Oh, yeah. To answer that question, I don't think there can be enough flight sim streamers out there, because if you think back 15, 20 years ago, this was such a niche hobby that not a lot of people did. And it's just incredible to how much it's grown and has given some exposure to what the aviation industry is all about when you can do it right here at the comfort of your own home. Speaking of exposure, guys, Flight Sim Expo is just over 3 months away, guys. 3 months in Providence, Rhode Island. Myself and Mr. CST Gaming have become level 1 media partners with the Flight Sim Expo. So we are going to be there. We are going to be there. Hopefully, yeah. CST, are you first? You're going to be there now this year? Has that been confirmed yet? Yeah, you'll be there? All right, yeah, it's okay. I know it was up in there last time I asked you about it, but we will be there. So make sure you guys get booked. I will let you guys forewarn you guys now. Hotels are ridiculous out in Providence. So make sure you save that allowance money, save that extra overtime money and stuff like that. Make sure you get out there. Myself and CST, along with Owls and the rest of the crew, will be out there as well. A lot of guys from World Flight and Wings for Hope team will be there as well. Hopefully going to have a booth so we can sit there and talk and answer some questions. Major Mark will be there. Hopefully, Lotto, I don't know if you're going to be there this year. Are you trying to get there this year?
Yeah, I'll probably be there.
Gotcha. Well, make sure you guys check it out. fsexpo.com. You can get your tickets there. You can register. Registration is open. We'll go from there. So make sure you guys head over and check that out. And nothing really much else to go from there. Over on my channel, you guys know how it is, man. We're going to be streaming when we can. No set schedule, unfortunately, due to my real world life and work schedule. Unfortunately, I kind of just have to do it when I can. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not done so already on both mine and Jack's channel, make sure you guys do smash down the thumbs up button, as it is completely free to do so. It helps out the channel tremendously as it pushes our content through the YouTube algorithm out to the rest of the flight sim geeks and aviation world. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a hit the notification bell so you can get notified when we're going live, and make sure you leave a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the podcast. This is definitely something that we want to try and do more often. Unfortunately, like Jack said, it's just, due to limits of life, and we will go from there, man. You guys know me. I've been enjoying the hell out of those E-Jets lately, so we're definitely going to be doing some more regional flying this week along with the CRJ. I want to bring the CRJ out of the hangar again. My guy CFI. Make sure you head over to Your Sim CFI's channel and give him a follow so you can learn the CRJ from a real world CRJ pilot. Head over to Lotto's Instagram, give him a follow, and TikTok. Major Mark on YouTube, CST on YouTube, Mr. EJ Davis with the VATSIM Caribbean Division, VATSIM Americas. Appreciate you guys also. And with Captain Jack, my man, it's good talking to you again, buddy. We will see you guys all in the next one. Hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you guys all in the next one from the virtual flight deck, guys. We shall see you.
Help!